Many people walk near the educational institution. In the foreground, a guy with a sword behind his back and a guy with a flying white cat behind him are saying goodbye. The main character watches people through the window. He pays attention to the voice behind him. Someone laughs and says that he chose the summoner class, thanks to which he now has 3 contract summons. A man in a kimono and with his leg on the table is agitating people near him to join his team, and then he will help with admission to the academy. A woman in a robe with a staff asks the guy not to make her laugh, because why should she, a noble priest, join his team? She adds that he should join her team as a junior. A man in a kimono invites a girl to fight. The woman suggests going to the site and sorting things out there. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, thought that 3 years had already passed since he entered this world, and 3 years was enough to understand all these oddities. Digital distortions of space appear near the skyscrapers, and the main character says that exactly 70 years ago reality merged with the game and human life underwent enormous changes. Just as levels, classes, and equipment appeared in the game, they became the standard of human wealth. In the foreground are a man concentrating golden energy, a man with a machine gun, and a girl in a white robe. In the background there is a swordsman, a magician, and a priest. The main character thought that increasing the level could greatly strengthen the human body, and class and skills could contribute to the effective use of power. But all this was given for a reason. A masked wizard stands next to a bare-chested man. The world lost its peace. Monsters from the game also appeared. The heroes fight a huge dragon. Demonic disasters began to appear and wreaked havoc. The main character looks at his hand and says that this is a world in which the most important thing is strength. He smiles slightly and says that it makes him more interesting. A gray-haired man with glasses opens the door to the office. He tells everyone that after class they should go straight home, because their families will worry about them. He asks the main character if he has already chosen a class, because tomorrow is entrance to the academy. He adds that there is no need to joke with such an important thing and asks if he intends to remain without a class. The main character made a worried expression on his face. The man with glasses tells the main character that he is confused in himself, and even if he now has a lot of skills, they are all primary and do not have a particularly great charm, and the closer he is to the edge, the more shortcomings he will encounter. And a person with class gets a lot more attribute points and skills. He raises his index finger up and tells the main character to listen to the teacher's advice by changing classes, and then many more paths will open up for him. The main character turns away and tells the teacher not to worry, because he wants more than this and he will rise to the top of this world. An interface appears where it says that the available skill and attribute points are 0. The main character asks what about the attribute points and adds that he can get everything, even without a class, because he has a system. Yan Chen has a thoughtful look. He's breathing heavily, beads of sweat running down his face. He runs along the track. According to the system prompt, the run is completed at 10 out of 10 kilometers. He does push-ups and reaches 100 push-ups. He does 100 squats. The main character sees the interface notification and receives skill and attribute points, as well as a hidden skill book. He laughs and says that many people receive such good rewards only after passing the most difficult tests, but he gets them from daily rewards. Yan Chen says that, as teacher Jin said, classless have a lot of disadvantages, and one of the main ones is the insufficient number of skill points. Although there are many skills themselves, they are all basic and therefore not particularly strong, but he has no limitations. He scans the list of classless skills in the system. He says that as long as there are enough skill points, he can upgrade the skills of any class, and the system just gives these points and all it takes is time. He adds that one can say that he is a versatile player. He clicks on the list of attributes and says that the basic skills have been upgraded and it's worth adding some attributes. The main character walks along the path and thinks that the system is really good, because thanks to it everything can be done quickly, and no one will see your characteristics, and this eliminates many problems. Yan Chen improves his magic attack and says that, as usual, he will distribute all attributes equally, with 2 points each. Sweat runs down his face and says that there are many ways to get rewards and these are not just daily tasks. He completes the task and is notified that he will receive a corresponding achievement award based on the results of the Academy's entrance exams. The main character says that, nevertheless, the reward always corresponds to the difficulty. Beads of sweat are running down his face. He says that awards have never let him down and he will definitely win tomorrow. Next day, playground. Many built people stand near the 3 gates. 2 guards stand near the purple gate. Teacher Jin points his finger at his students and says that despite the fact that he has repeated this many times, he will say it for the last time. There are 3 types of difficulty: easy, hard, and nightmare. He adds that once the gate opens, it will announce the opening of the dungeon, as well as the start of the exam, and the higher the difficulty, the higher the score, the smaller the team, the higher the score. The teacher adjusts his glasses and tells the students that they must do their best, because the copies of the monsters will be real, and if they lose, they will die. The gate opens and smoke comes out of it. They have completely opened and light is shining within them. The teacher announces the start of the exam and asks you to enter the gate. The Jin disciples in front of him disappear. The rest of the students also disappear from their places. A new interface window appears. Dungeon name, Goblin Dungeon. Rating, level 10-13. Difficulty, choice of easy, hard, nightmare. People required, 1-5. Note, an unknown dungeon full of goblin settlements. Ferocious goblins love human blood and flesh. People are exploring the dungeon. Spectators watch them through a broadcast screen. The masked man says that most people went in groups. The guy with black hair replies that this is logical, because their lives are at stake. The man in the bandana says that probably only DD will dare to go alone. The guy in the mask points his finger at the screen and says that one of the players is not DD. A man with black hair asks if he really doesn't want to live anymore. The guy in the bandana says he looks kind of familiar. A notification appears that the main character is alone infiltrating a goblin dungeon with nightmare difficulty. Yun Chen jumps off a stone pillar. One of the spectators asks if he is not only the wrong class, but also went alone. Another spectator asks if he really wants to die. A man in a bandana points his finger at the screen and asks why he has such strange equipment, and then asks how he can have so many weapons if he changed classes. The main character walks forward, dressed in unique equipment. The viewer wonders if he really has no class. A man in a mask with a surprised look says that there really are those who do not choose a class, and then calls him a fool. The man in the bandana says that the main character moves amazingly. The guy with black hair says that classless can have any low-level skills, but they are useless. Teacher Jin with an angry expression says that everything is bad. Behind him stands an angry old man with a gray mustache and goatee. The teacher holds his head and says that he cannot believe that this fool did not choose a class in the end, and he not only did not change classes, but also went to the nightmare dungeon alone. The dean of the school, Donghyun, approaches him and says that he requires an explanation. Jin, with a worried look on his face, says that his talent is good enough to remain without a class and it shouldn't be a problem for him. The main character stands at the entrance to the dungeon. Next to him are an extinguished fire and a mountain of human bones. Above the entrance to the dungeon it is written that this is the Dungeon of Nightmares. Yun Chen looks at the inscription and says that as expected from the gate to the nightmare dungeon. Even the atmosphere here is creepy. He goes inside the dungeon and says that he is starting. The guy with black hair tells the guy in the bandana that he saw equipment, a gun, a shield, a pistol, a staff, and even gloves from the main character. The guy in the bandana notices that there are a lot of skills and weapons, and then asks if he can pass. The guy in the mask pats him on the shoulder and says that the man has entered the dungeon. The main character quickly runs through the dungeon, using the main sword skill, speed. The guy in the mask says that the main character was not only not afraid, but also passed it in a hurry. Yun Chen runs towards the goblin silhouettes. The goblins pay attention to the main character. They laugh and head towards the guy. The main character takes out his staff. He aims at the goblins and concentrates the magical energy using the magician's main skill, Fireball. A fiery cloud of magical power is directed at the enemy. The fireball explodes, hitting several goblins at once. Many defeated goblins lie on the ground. The masked guy has a drop of sweat running down his cheek and asks if it is a fireball, and then adds that he used it instantly, and its power is much stronger than that of ordinary magicians. The guy in the bandana with a surprised expression on his face says that the weapon the main character is holding is not a staff and it changes shape. Yun Chen takes out a weapon from behind his back. He holds in his hand a sword staff made of dark iron, which in staff form gives +5 wisdom, and in sword form +5 strength. The main character stands in the air using the main swordsman skill, Wind Walk. The surviving goblin looks at the main character in fear. The main character attacks him in the shoulder with lightning speed. The main character stands on the ground. He attacks another goblin with his sword. The wound of the defeated goblin bleeds. A goblin with an axe and a shield screams at his enemy while the goblin next to him clenches his teeth. Goblins attack the main character in a crowd. Yun Chen takes a fighting stance. He hits several goblins with one blow. Smoke comes out of the defeated goblins, and one of the spectators says that this is the main skill of a magical swordsman, Flame Cutting Wind. He wonders if the primary skills are really that strong. A girl with black hair and a guy praise the main character. The guy in the mask says that the main character first broke their formation with a fireball, and then began to finish them off one by one. The guy with black hair says that he is his own magician and swordsman. A girl with black hair calls the main character handsome and tells him not to give up, because he will definitely pass the entrance exams. The guy in the bandana turns around and says this guy is running so fast with all this equipment. The guy in the mask says that it must be an overload and adds that even with the speed skill he should not run at such a speed. The guy in the bandana suggests that the protagonist has invested well in the strength attribute, and the power of his flame-slashing wind is too strong. The masked guy asks how his ball can be so powerful if that's the case. Donghyun asks what's wrong with him and notes that his skills are too strong. Jin puts his hand on the back of his head and says that Yunchen's talent is almighty, and thanks to it he can remove the restriction twice. The dean says that between the ages of 12 and 25, a small percentage of people can independently awaken their natural abilities. He says that depending on their talent, they choose a class. A girl with black hair and a cloak holds a staff in her hand. The dean says that some people have magical talent, which is why they inevitably become magicians. A man with long hair leans on a sword, and behind him stands a warrior with a shield. The dean says that some have martial talents to increase physical strength and attack. They choose combat classes like swordsman. A woman wipes the floor and a man cooks food in a wok. Donghyun says that there are also specific talents, such as cooking or house cleaning, but in general, the choice of class depends on the awakened talent. He says with a serious expression that, unfortunately, Almighty is not a particularly strong talent. He only increases the power of skills at sea in the initial stages, and this will be useful in the early stages, but he will not go far with this. The man in the black jacket says that his fighting talents are as good as his magical ones, but his limit is low, and because of this he has no future, so you shouldn't focus on him. The girl with black hair says that he also uses his skills perfectly and smoothly. Jin, with a menacing expression on his face, says that this is why he advised him to choose a class, because the further he goes, the weaker he will be. The end of the sword blade is bloody. The main character walks down the corridor, leaving traces of blood behind him. He stands in front of the stone gate. The main character thought that this was the entrance to the next room and opened the passage. He opened the doors and at the bottom of the stairs he sees many goblins. Countless goblins are looking at the main character. Among the goblins there are many unique ones. With a staff in his hand stands a level 12 red goblin with difficulty bronze with 1 star, and with the following skills: Fire Mastery, Fireball, Firebomb. With chains stands a level 14 goblin commander with difficulty silver with 1 star, and with the following skills: Berserk, Shockwave, Military Spirit. With a two-handed weapon there is a level 11 goblin knight with difficulty bronze with 1 star, and the following skills: Accurate Throw, Fury. The main character uses the assessment skill and says that there are even water goblins, and everyone has good equipment. Near his eye is a magic symbol from the appraisal skill. The main character, standing at the top of the stairs, says that it is stupid to evaluate and there are too many of them, and the terrain is also not the best and it will be difficult to turn around. The goblin commander points his finger at the protagonist. The goblins head towards the main character, who is going down the stairs. Some goblins play music on drums. A goblin with a spear, inspired by the music, runs towards the main character. 2 goblins concentrate magical energy in their hands. The main character with a gloomy expression on his face says that the shamans are strengthening, the cavalry is attacking, and the magicians are attacking on the sly. A bright light appears around the main character's staff. He uses the priest's main skill, Flash. Several goblins are hit by the flash. The goblins close their eyes as they look at the flash. The goblin rider falls to the floor along with the horse. The red goblin opened one eye. The main character uses the assassin's stealth skill and appears behind him, and then says that he will get rid of the most dangerous ones first, because this is the basis. The main character makes a strike using the assassin's main skill, cutting the throat. The red goblin tells his comrades that the main character is behind him and orders them to kill him. Goblins run towards the main character. Smoke appears around the main character. Yunchen used the assassin's main skill, cloning, which creates an exact copy of the main character. Clone skill. The clone has all the skills of the owner, as well as 35% of its attributes. The main character attacked the goblin in the back using backstab. He stabs the goblin's heart from the back using Heart Pierce. He attacks the red goblin in the back using Spine Split. The goblin's wound leaves a lot of blood on the floor. The main character moves with lightning speed from one goblin to another. Streams of energy emanate from the eyes of the red goblin with chains. The red goblin clenched his fists and trembled. Yun Chen turns around and says that as expected from a boss, he can go into a rage on his own. The goblin boss jumps on the main character and screams loudly. Yun Chen jumped back and said that now is not the time to fight him. He concentrates magical energy around the staff and uses the main summoner skill, Summon Water Elemental. The broadcast with the main character is interrupted. A warrior with a shield defends himself from a goblin with a dagger. The guy in the blue shirt rolls up his sleeves and asks what is this, and then says that he doesn't want to see this fool. The guy in the black t-shirt asks what kind of mediocrity this is. The guy in the black jacket asks to bring back the classless one. An angry crowd throws garbage at the screen with the desire to bring the main character back. Broadcasting room. A man with black hair says that they have been broadcasting this student for 3 minutes and why don't they look at the others. The guy with glasses hits him on the head and says that the audience wants to see this and he should return the broadcast back. The guy with the eye patch put his hands on the back of his head and says that magical skills are instant, and his use of weapons is excellent, and he is also good as an assassin. A man with gray hair tells him that he forgot about summoning techniques and calls the main character a real monster. The guy in the mask says that he, as an instructor in the assassin department, knows all the difficulties of this class, and with each kill, if you deviate slightly from the angle of impact, the attack force instantly loses its weight. He points his index finger at the screen and says that without any exaggeration, his movements are at the pro level and many are not as good as him, so he is a brilliant all-rounder in combat, and it will be very difficult to imitate him. A guy with an eye patch greets his masked teacher with his head up. Water elementals fight goblins. Viewers notice that the broadcast has finally been returned, and the main character has summoned 3 water elementals, and then wonder where the main character himself is. The guy with the eye patch points his finger and says that the main character is fighting a boss whose rage has almost exhausted itself. He adds that the most exciting part of the boss fight begins. The goblin boss looks at the main character with an angry expression, and the main character mentally starts counting down from 3 with a straight face. The main character says that this is still a boss of the nightmare level, and you can't do without some tricks. He finishes the countdown. The goblin makes a dash towards the main character. The main character throws something at the goblin's feet. The goblin steps into a trap. The main character used the main mechanic skill, Trap. Trap sets a trap that traps the enemy for 2 seconds. The main character sends several fireballs at the goblin. They hit him right in the head. A goblin with a burned face heads towards the main character. Yun Chen quickly jumps back. The goblin looks down at his feet. He sees a bomb under his foot. It provokes a powerful explosion. Goblins and elementals watch the explosion. Streams of smoke fly in front of the main character. With a smile on his face, he says stop pretending, because this is not enough to destroy him. The smoke around the goblin boss is pushed away. The goblin concentrates magical energy in his leg. The main character concentrates green energy in his hand and tells the boss that he wants to activate his strongest skill, Martial Spirit. Green plants appear from underground and the main character shouts that he won't allow it. Plants envelop the enemy. The main character used the main skill of the druid, Vine. Yun Chen waved his hand. One of the vine shoots attacks the goblin in the face. The goblin gritted his teeth and noticed something. Many icy clots of energy fly at him. The main character used the magician's main skill, Ice Bullets, which continuously cause cold damage and reduce attack and movement speed by 35%. Ice bullets hit the goblin boss and he falls to the ground. The main character concentrates golden energy in one hand and water energy in the other. He uses many skills. Mechanic's main skill is M22-1 launcher. Mage's main skill is thunder. Mage's main skill is water arrows. Summoner's main skill is water spirit control. Many spells hit the boss at the same time. He screams loudly due to pain. He is covered in wounds and shaking violently. The audience watches what happens. A woman with black hair points to the screen and says that she feels sorry for this boss. The man with freckles says that he was led by the nose until the very end. The guy with brown hair crossed his arms and said that Yun Chen blocked the boss's view with a fireball, and he, in turn, fell into a trap and, once there, dug his own grave. He notes that these are the control skills of each class and it is impossible to escape from them. He adds what's even more amazing is that every move he made was thought out and he didn't just randomly use skills. The goblin is chained to the ground by vines. The man with brown hair adds that the water and thunder skills can apply an additional effect in the form of a stun, plus slow and control from the vines, which makes the boss unable to counterattack. The woman with the mole under her eye tells the man that he missed another key detail and adds that he managed to cancel the use of martial spirit, which was the key to victory. A black-haired guy with a cigarette in his hand says that classless have too many skills and yet he skillfully used each of them. He is afraid to imagine how much the main character had to train. With a smile on his face, he tells Old Man Jin that Yun Chen can reach the top 5 in the province. A woman in black and white congratulates Jin. The guy with brown hair gives a thumbs up and says that he might break the school record. The teacher holds the back of his head and laughs. Dongyun puts his hand on his chest and says that they are looking too narrowly, and he himself thinks that he will definitely be in the top 3, because their school record is 9th place in the province. The dean invites Jin to sit next to him. The teacher thanks him and says that he knew that this boy was not so simple and he did not disappoint him. He smiles forcefully. The girl spectator with black hair tied in a bun says that classless turns out to be so strong. He skillfully uses his many skills. The guy with gray hair next to her raises his fist in the air and calls the protagonist a genius. The girl with black hair tells her teacher that she no longer wants to be a magician and will follow Yun Chen's example. The teacher hits her on the head and asks if she understands what he is doing and does she really want to follow in his footsteps, when she doesn't even know how to use a staff. He adds that he is already silent about swords, daggers, and pistols. The magician teacher points his finger at the screen and tells her to discard this nonsense, because if she follows him, she may not survive. The teacher with a serious expression on her face tells her to remember that this is not a game, but reality, and you can't act recklessly, because one mistake and everything will end. The girl is holding her head with a frustrated expression on her face, just like the guy behind her. On the screen, 3 elementals stand around the main character. The guy with gray hair says that they can only learn from him, but he is not the person to imitate. The main character says that the monsters have been killed. He opens the gate and says it's time to move on to the next stage. A spectator in a blue shirt asks if he's going to take a break after the boss fight. A girl with black hair tied in a bun asks if he has just moved on to the next stage. The guy with gray hair says that this is madness and the main character has signed his own death warrant. Dongyun, with a menacing expression on his face, calls the protagonist reckless because the rest of the students did not even have time to approach the boss's room, and he has enough time to rest. The dean asks the teacher what he taught him. Jin, with concern on his face, says that he probably wants to go through as quickly as possible, because the time to pass is also estimated and saving time is not so profitable. The magician teacher crosses his arms and says that death is the only outcome. He adds that they had such a genius, but now he will sink into oblivion. The girl with black hair says that she doesn't think so, because the protagonist still has enough weapons and he must have some kind of plan. The teacher with a stern expression on his face says that he admits that the protagonist is excellent. But even with all these skills, he simply does not have enough strength and probably the remaining weapons behind his back he does not know how to use. It is still impossible to wield everything. The main character stands in the room of the next stage, surrounded by 3 elementals. The magician teacher says that the monsters of the next stage are all high level, and because of this he should not make a single mistake. He adds that the mana costs will be huge, especially without restoration. It's like inviting death. A huge army of goblins stands in front of the main character. Yun Chen concentrates magical energy in his hand and says that the garbage has disappeared and only goblin shamans and high-level magicians remain. The main character puts 2 fingers to his forehead and closes his eyes. He looks at the elemental and says that the challenge is about to disappear, and he will make the most of them before disappearing. Red and blue auras appear around the goblins. They send a lot of fire and ice projectiles towards the main character. The main character orders the elementals to block the attack. They stand in front of the main character and cross their arms. Many magical clots of energy fly into them. A lot of smoke is produced. The silhouette of the main character appears from the smoke. The goblins open their eyes wide in surprise. The main character takes out 2 pistols and says that now it's his turn. He looks menacingly at his enemies. Dongyun looks through the glass wall at the screen and says that the sniper class has quite a lot of basic skills, such as quick throw, deadly shot, quick reload, pursuit, slithering lunge, explosion, aerial shooting, and so on. He adds that this class has a huge number of useful skills and this makes it one of the hardest classes among the others. Jin, with an alarmed expression on his face, says that the main difficulty is the passive skill pursuit. Because of it you have to shoot at everyone without missing, otherwise you won't achieve much damage. And in a real battle this is very difficult. The mage teacher crosses his arms and says that classless have a lot of skills. With so many sniper skills, it shouldn't be difficult for him to hit them. The main character fires a pistol shot. A girl with black hair tied in a bun and a guy with gray hair rise from their seats with delight. The girl says that the main character will now show something incredible again. The protagonist hits one of the goblins in the head. The goblin coughs up blood, and a description of the skill pursuit appears, which states that each hit increases the killing intent, a maximum increase of 25 times. The main character fires a few more shots from the pistol. A system window appears with the killing intent skill, with which each level of killing intent increases the speed of fire and movement by 2%. The main character defeats several more goblins and increases killing intent to level 3. Goblins shoot fiery bolts of energy at the main character. He dodges the attack using the sniper's main skill, Slithering Lunge. He fires several shots at once with lightning speed using the rapid fire skill. Many fire and ice clots of energy fly at the main character from different directions. He takes a step towards the enemies. The protagonist makes a jump, dodging goblin attacks. He replaces the magazines on his black and white pistols. He uses the main sniper skill, Fast Reload. The main character turns upside down in the air and fires pistols using the killing shot and explosion skills. Many bullets leave red marks behind them and hit the goblins in the head. The protagonist lands on the ground. He stands among many defeated goblins. Spectators watch him through the broadcast and say that he only shoots at heads, and for him an ordinary hit should already be a victory. A girl with black hair tied in a bun asks for the opportunity to die from his bullet. A guy with gray hair calls the protagonist handsome. A woman with gray hair says that the main character will become her husband, and a girl with black bangs says that she wants to become his girlfriend. The girl with her hair tied in a bun says that the elder is incredible in handling weapons, a real shooter. The magician teacher says that he takes back his words and the main character is truly a genius of this era. He adds that he has never seen such talented students and is afraid that the previous provincial champion is no match for him. Dongyun says that as he expected, he is not only calculating, but also resourceful. Jin thought that the dean had spoken completely differently before. The guy in the black jacket says that he noticed one strange thing. So far Yun Chen has not used a single potion, but according to the rules, you can prepare health or mana potions. The girl in white clothes says that this is true. In addition to the forbidden potions of the type that instantly restores all health, a variety of ones can be used, and yet he does not use anything. Jin looks at the girl and says that it's not that he doesn't need them, he just didn't take them, because his backpack is filled with all sorts of weapons and explosives. He adds that we can remain silent about the cartridges, since it is clear that there are a lot of them. The dean with a serious expression on his face says that he has no right to make a mistake and wonders whether the main character is reckless or confident. The main character's gun smokes from constant shooting. A girl with her hair tied in a bun says that he is going to do something. The guy with gray hair says that he doesn't know what exactly he wants, but wouldn't it be better to relax in the next room? Yun Chen looks at his pistols and says that due to the excessive number of shots, the pistols are damaged and it looks like they can no longer be used. He adds that, after all, this is a weapon made of black iron. The main character throws his pistols on the floor and goes into a new passage. The dean asks questions whether his weapon is broken and what class of pistols he has. Jin looks at the dean and says that these are the cheapest pistols made of black iron. Dongyun is surprised by this. He grabs the teacher by the collar and asks how he even became a teacher if he allowed him to go to the entrance exam with such rubbish. The teacher closed his eyes and said that he really couldn't afford more. The main character stands with a shield behind his back. Jin says that he has no parents and also has to take care of his younger sister. The dean cries and tells Jin that he should have said earlier, and then he would have bought him a weapon, but now it is too late. The protagonist begins to forcefully open the huge gate. The girl in white clothes says that the main character has moved to the final boss room. Jin exhales and says that with the time spent, if he kills the boss as quickly as he does, he will become the champion of the province. The dean clenches his hand into a fist and says that there has never been anyone like him in the history of their school, and he will become a director who will go down in history if the main character succeeds. The director says that the protagonist is a wonderful seedling, and if he suffers due to the state of the equipment, then Jin will not be a teacher. The teacher looks up and asks the main character to do his best. The protagonist opens a huge gate. Spectators look at the big screen. One of the spectators says that the elder is about to enter the final boss's room. The guy in the blue t-shirt says he's afraid. The others are still stuck on the commander. The guy in the black and red sweater says that maybe he really will become the champion of the province. Yun Chen goes inside the room. One of the spectators says that they will witness history. Another viewer says that moreover, he has not yet used all the weapons behind his back. The broadcast with the main character is interrupted. The guy with purple hair asks why they turn off the broadcast again at the most interesting moment. The guy in the blue t-shirt says that the rest are going on as usual, and they are not interesting. A girl with long black hair points at the screen and says that something is wrong and they show dead people there. A bloodied man sits with a pierced torso. One of the spectators says that he was one of the DDs and he only saw him yesterday. Many participants are lying on the ground, defeated. The viewer says that while they were watching the main character, the others fought with the goblin commander and almost all died at his hands. Another viewer says that the guy in the black robe was killed while he was using the scroll of return. The guy in the blue t-shirt says that this light is from the scroll of return. The guy in the black and red jacket points to the blue energy and says that some managed to escape. The legs of one of the exam participants materialize. He fully appears and extending his hand forward says that everything is very bad and he must come back. Many other members appear with him, some of whom appear badly injured. The woman with the gray belt says that it is impossible to fight against him. The wounded guy lies on the ground and says that he didn't even reach the second stage and now he won't be accepted into any academy. A guy with gray hair with concern on his face says that after watching the main character for so long, they forgot about the difficulty of this exam. The girl with her hair tied in a bun says that the elders are much stronger than them, but even so, many of them suffered. She holds her head and with a desperate expression on her face says that she is silent about the quick passage. There at least you need to survive to the end, and if she is not even capable of this, then it's even better to forget about Yun Chen's record. The guy with gray hair clenched his teeth in fear and said that he was so scared of fighting against the commander and that he no longer wanted to learn and fight in general. The director commands his subordinate in a jacket to switch the broadcast back to Yun Chen and don't undermine the spirit of the students so much. Jin thought that many had suffered in previous years, but everyone with DD grades passed this exam to a greater extent. He thinks that Yun Chen was the best this year and in the director's mind he surpassed everyone, which is why his preferences must change. The broadcast is again interrupted by interference. The main character walks along the corridor. The spectator shouts that they switch to Yun Chen again. Another spectator shouts that the battle between him and the final boss will now begin. The main character goes deep into a long corridor. He sees a figure on a throne in front of him. A huge goblin with an axe sits on a throne and in a menacing voice tells the protagonist that this is not the place where he should be. He stands up from his throne and a description of the monster appears. It is called Monarch of the Mountains. Its level is 16. Difficulty is gold with 1 star. Skills are unknown. According to the note, he is wearing a scarlet cloak, which is the symbol of the Goblin Lord. The main character, with concern on his face, says that, as expected from the Nightmare final boss, his strength is directly pressing, and he speaks in human. The main character takes out a spear from behind his back. He gets into a fighting stance, using the monk's main skill, Bloody Rage, and then tells the boss that he only has 20 seconds to live. Jin shouts that this is a monk skill, Bloody Rage, which increases all attributes by 80% for 20 seconds, as well as attack, movement and penetration speed by 75%. But the enhancement lasts for 20 seconds, and after it expires, all attributes of the owner drop by 75%. He adds that finally the protagonist will use the military weapon that he carried throughout the entire passage, and this will be a battle for life and death. Jin presses his hand to his chest and says that this is unreasonable, because you can slowly kill the boss. The director trembles and says that this guy amazed him and asks to give him the blood pressure lowering drug Capoten. Yun Chen dashes towards the final boss. He swings his spear at his enemy. The boss says that this man's speed is high and yet he is still too weak. The monarch hits the main character with his axe. He cuts the main character into 2 parts with his attack. The axe destroys the floor due to the heavy impact. A girl with her hair tied in a bun says that the main character was cut in half. The last boss of the nightmare is too strong. The guy with gray hair says that even Bloody Rage is worth fighting with reason. The director points his finger at the screen and says that it was just a clone. He adds that Boy, at the time of the frontal attack, used a clone to distract attention, and he himself was already behind the enemy. Yun Chen attacks the enemy from behind. He pierces the back of his head with a spear. He performs a slash, cutting through the enemy's back. The monarch of the mountains turns back with a menacing expression on his face. The main character brought a staff with a blue crystal to the monster's head. The crystal is reflected in the monster's eye. The main character used flash on his enemy. A powerful stream of light is directed into the monster's eyes. The boss closes his eyes and screams because of what is happening. The main character makes a thrust with a spear and says that he will kill him while he is blind. he notices something unexpected. White and purple energy emanates from the boss. The system displays a note indicating that the attack was so vile that the monarch, in a fit of rage, went into a rage beforehand. The main character makes a blow, but it does no harm. He notices that a crack has formed on his weapon. The protagonist's spear breaks into 2 parts. Yan Chen looks at his spear with a dissatisfied expression. The mountain monarch makes a spear attack. The main character thought that it was all because of rage. The control time decreased. After the boss attacks, a lot of smoke appears. The smoke clears and reveals the surprised face of the monarch of the mountains. The main character grabbed the boss using the druid's main skill, Vine. With a serious expression on his face, he thought that there were 13 seconds of blood fury left. The boss looks at the main character with a smile on his face. Yan Chen thought that the real battle was about to begin. One of the spectators wonders what happened. A guy with gray hair with an upset expression on his face says that the main character did not use this weapon and everything should be fine with the strength. The girl with her hair tied in a bun says that the boss is still intact, and then asks whether even with bloody rage the main character is not able to break through his defense. The magician teacher with a serious expression on his face says that the point is not that he cannot penetrate the armor, but that Yan Chen's attributes are high. Otherwise he would not have been able to blind the monk of the mountains. The director says that they both have high attribute scores and both of them went into a state of rage. Jin says that in the end, Black Iron could not withstand their power. The director looks at Jin and says that there should be no Black Iron trash in the battle under any circumstances, and then asks him if he understands what he's talking about. The teacher apologizes with a worried expression. Dongyun thought what was even worse, the time of bloody rage was coming to an end, and he had nothing to penetrate his defense. He adds that if he kills the best champion with bad equipment, then it will be a shame for centuries. The main character stands opposite an enemy whose axe is shrouded in vines. Remaining duration of blood fury, 13 seconds. Yan Jin, with a serious expression on his face, thought that he wanted to end the battle as soon as possible, but it would be more difficult than expected. A green symbol appears in the main character's eye due to the fact that he used the ranger's main skill, finding weaknesses. He thought that he had so much time left and he needed to quickly find a way to deal with his defense. The protagonist sees the black silhouette of the boss and thinks that he has no weaknesses. The monarch of the mountains gets rid of the vine. He makes a cutting blow to the main character, calling him a vile little man, and the main character dodges. He makes a series of many blows, but the main character dodges each one. The protagonist jumps away from his enemy. The boss is about to stomp his foot with all his might. He stomps his foot using Earth Wave and purple waves appear around him. The wave hits the main character and he thought that because of the shaking it was hard for him to stand. The main character defends himself with a sword, using the main swordsman's skill, Block. The monarch of the mountains attacks the main character. The remaining duration of blood fury is 9 seconds. The protagonist hits the wall and breathes heavily after the attack. A girl with black hair tied in a bun says that it's all over because the bloody rage disappears and the main character has not yet managed to break through the defense. The guy with gray hair says that Yan Chen is not so badly injured. The director crossed his arms behind his back and said that if his weapon was a higher rank, or he himself was a little stronger, the battle would have already ended. He adds that now his sword staff has been destroyed and access to the skills of sword and magic is blocked. Jin says what's worse is that he doesn't have a single healing potion with him, and wounds mean death. The protagonist sits opposite the boss with his eyes downcast. The monarch of the mountains swings his axe and tells the main character that he can die. The remaining duration of blood fury is 7 seconds. Yan Chen looks at the enemy with confusion. Green plants appear from the ground due to the fact that the main character used the main skill of the druid, Thorns. The boss cuts down the plants with his axe. The spectator in the black and gray sweater says that even the main character made a mistake, because the druid is a good class in control, but his skills are not suitable for attack at all. A man with black hair leans on the partition and asks if this was the last attempt. The guy in the black and gray jacket says that the monarch of the mountains, after using the rage, did not move from the spear, but for some reason he defended himself against thorns. The director laughs and asks if he found it. The main character wipes the blood from his face and says that every monster has a weak point. Weapon equipped, combat gloves. The remaining duration of blood fury is 5 seconds. He asks the boss if he really has no weaknesses. A green symbol appears in the protagonist's pupil and he says that of course not. He just didn't notice the weakness. The boss, with an alarming expression on his face, swings an axe and tells the main character not to talk nonsense. Many plants attack the boss from behind. The main character tells him that his weakness is right behind his cloak. There are 2 cuts on the boss's back. The protagonist's fists are enveloped in fire due to the fact that he uses the main striker skill, Fire Fist. The remaining duration of Blood Fury is 3 seconds. The main character raises his fists and says that he will take advantage of the last 3 seconds and get rid of him. The boss turns around and shouts to the main character that he has achieved his goal. A fiery fist rushes towards the boss's back. A girl with her hair tied in a bun shouts that this is a victory, and the main character's blow rushes straight to the weak spot. The guy with gray hair says that he believes in the main character. The boss turns to the main character and now the blow rushes towards his chest. The main character hits the enemy and the boss coughs up blood. The monarch of the mountain says that an attack of this magnitude will at most knock him down and nothing more, and adds that the main character has lost. The main character pushes away and asks the boss if he is sure. Blood rage expires. The boss looks back and sees a spear blade on the ground. The monarch of the mountains fearfully shouts the word no. The boss falls to the ground and is pierced by a blade. The main character fell to the ground. He leans his hand on the ground and trembles. He gets up from the ground and looks back. A notification appears congratulating candidate Yun Chen for successfully completing the Goblin Dungeon on Nightmare difficulty. Completion time, 14 minutes and 47 seconds. The results of the entrance exam have been recorded. After the reminder to pass the exam, you need to receive your reward for passing. One of the spectators shouts that the main character succeeded and killed the boss. Another spectator shouts that it took 20 seconds to kill him. Many spectators are sitting in the stands. The boss curses the main character, after which the body of the defeated enemy disappears. Objects appear in the place of the killed boss. A notification appears that, given the difficulty and time it takes to complete the dungeon, the score is SSS, and the main character is the first to pass the dungeon with such a score, which is why a record was registered. Reward for completing: 15,650 experience points, 20 attribute points, 20 skill points. The main character stands near the objects. A notification appears when you receive the following items: gold grade greenwood shoulders, gold grade greenwood belt, gold grade greenwood gloves. Another notification appears congratulating you on receiving the Goblin Slayer title, which grants a 25% increase in damage against goblins. The main character puts on new items and says that he gains 3 levels and as a result reaches 13, and also receives 9 attribute points. He wonders whether he is the first to pass such an assessment and whether he will be included in the provincial ranking. He adds that there is no need to be so optimistic and he will find out how he will get out of here. A system notification appears, which says that due to the fact that the main character was the first to pass this assessment, he will be given one of 3 talents. The first talent is called Quick Spell, and thanks to it, the preparation time for spells is significantly reduced. The second talent is called Aura of Strength and increases attack speed by 30%, and every third attack deals 80% additional damage. The third talent is called Steadfast and gives a 100% bonus to attack and attack speed when receiving heavy wounds. The main character looks at the icons with talents and says that all talents are good, you need to choose one. He adds that based on his strategy, Quick Spell is best. Yun Chen closes his eyes and a blue beam rushes into his forehead. A mark appears on his forehead. The main character says that he will now test new equipment. He looks at his greenwood belt, which gives Constitution +5 and Strength +5, and says that they are all gold rank and much stronger than Dark Iron. On the main character, Green Forest shoulders appear with Constitution +5 and Strength +15, as well as Green Forest gloves, which gives Strength +30 and critical hit chance +3%. According to the system notification, a set of 3 pieces of the Green Forest suit all battle after 5 seconds automatically restores health points and mana points, as well as stamina according to the physique. The protagonist clenches his hand into a fist and says that this is good equipment, and if he fought the Monarch of the Mountains again, he would defeat him in 5 seconds. The main character is enveloped in a blue glow and he says that it is time to return. The main character appears in the middle of the square to conduct the exam. He looks around and sees many spectators in the stands. One of the spectators shouts that the main character is leaving. The second spectator shouts that he will now call the main character God. The third spectator shouts that the main character is the invincible god Yun Chen. The fourth spectator from the stands shouts that the main character is so popular and invites him to marry her. The main character, with confusion on his face, asks what is happening and is the god Yun Chen really a new pseudonym. The director points his finger at the main character, laughs and tells him that he did a good job. The main character notices that the director and teacher Jin are coming to him. They approach the main character with happy faces, who has a confused expression on his face. The director tells everyone to look at the camera. Donghyun puts his hand on the main character's shoulder and says that he can get the entrance results in 3 days, but the deadline is in 7 days. He adds that he will inform you if there is any news, and the main character can go and rest. Yun-chen thanks the director. A luxury black car is driving. He stops with the main character and the director and teacher. The gray-haired guy says that this is the director's car and he has never heard of students being treated like this. The brown-hair guy with a surprised expression says that he actually asked his driver to take Yun-chen, and that is what was expected from the god Yun-chen. The main character got into the car, and the director told him that, according to his assumptions, this time the main character's assessment is the best and she will definitely be in the top 3 among the provinces, and maybe even in the top 1. He adds that after the results, the main character will receive even more awards, but now he needs to tell this good news to his family. The director follows the car as it drives away and says that if Yun-chen becomes the champion, not only will he be awarded, but Donghyun's school will receive exclusive attention from the Ministry of Education, which will bring many useful resources, and his name will go down in history. A guy in a black jacket with a smartphone tells the director that he is receiving a call from the Ministry of Education. The director laughs and says that they are faster than he thought. Yun-chen's house. It's evening outside. The main character is standing at the front door. He says with a smile on his face that he is back. The main character's sister holds a plate of food in her hands and tells her brother that he is just in time and needs to sit down to eat. She adds that she prepared a lot of food. Several dishes are on the table. The girl says that she even put in some meat and it should be delicious. The main character sits down at the table. The main character watches his sister serving rice and thought that their father died on the front line 10 years ago, during the invasion of the Orc royal court. He adds that the mother overworked to feed the main character and her sister and followed her father. A human hand peeks out from the white fabric. The main character adds that having lost everything, they now live only on benefits and even the black iron equipment he got from his father. The main character's sword fell into pieces. The main character's sister washes the dishes. The main character thinks that for many years, in order to allow him to train, Yun-tiang took on all the responsibilities around the house, and no matter how much he asked, she never gave up on this idea, because she is a stubborn and strong girl. The protagonist smiles and says that all he can do to repay her is to work 10 or even 100 times more than ordinary people, and now everything should work out for them. Yun-tiang asks his brother if he did well in the exam. The protagonist replies that there was one difficulty, but overall not bad, and the director said that a place in the top 3 was guaranteed, and after the results he would be given a generous reward. The sister, with an enthusiastic expression on her face, asks if this is true and how often they can eat meat per week. The main character pokes his finger on his sister's cheek and says that she is a fool, and they can eat a lot more every day. The main character smiles and thought that he would provide her with a better life. 5 days later, the main character walks along a city street. He opens the system window and thought that over the past couple of days he had accumulated good skill points on daily tasks, and after passing the exam, he began to receive a lot more points. He passes by an alley and thinks that, in addition, after moving to the top 7 academies, the skills of hidden classes will be available to him. The main character opens the door and says that he has returned. The sister goes to the main character. She hugs him and says that the results have come, where he is number 1 in the province. The main character asks if this is true and why he didn't receive the message. The sister shows the smartphone to the main character and says that he forgot to take the phone with him, and he is torn from messages. Yun-chen sees many missed messages from the director. He gets a call again. The main character receives a call and asks the director if it is. The director shouts and asks why he doesn't answer his calls, and then says that they've passed. The main character seems to be blown away by the director's scream. Donghyun tells the main character to come to him after lunch, because the commission will come and he will have to choose a university. The main character, with a confused expression on his face, thought that he didn't even know where to go, but was looking forward to it. The main character reaches out to the blue crystal. Teacher Jin stands next to him, and 3 men are watching from the 2nd floor. The protagonist touches the blue crystal. A red inscription appears indicating that the almighty talent has been acquired. The main character looks at his talent with an anxious expression. The man in the green shirt smiles and says that this is crappy talent. The man in the red jacket asks what use there could be in a limited skill increase and whether he can cope with class skills, because they are in completely different weight categories. The guy with black hair tied in a bun calls the main character a loser. Teacher Jin holds the main character's shoulder and tells him not to lose heart, because life doesn't stop with talent. And even with not the best talent, you can choose a good class. The main character sits on a bench in the rain and is fixated on his talent. He wonders what will happen if he goes all out. He notices the system window appearing next to him. The system notifies the main character about the activation, as well as that it will help become stronger in the selected class. The main character says that he didn't even think that he would get the same one as in the web novels, and then wonders what's next and whether he will become better than the rest. The system notifies you that you need to choose a development path. The main character asks if the classless path of development is suitable. He opened his eyes wide. A notification appears indicating that a classless development path has been selected. He thought that 3 years had passed in an instant. He looks at his hand and thinks that as a classless person, he became the first in the province. But what will the system give him? A system notification appears about the completion of a task where you need to take first place in the exam with the classless development path. The main character is shocked. He receives a notification that the almighty talent has been upgraded to a plus, and all skills can be improved by 3 stages to B+. Another notification appears, informing you that you have received the divine skill Divine Lightning S, as well as the receipt of a rank S divine item, the Cross of Rebirth, and the divine skill Super Self-Healing S+. The main character looks at the notifications with surprise. He puts on a happy expression and says that the reward is generous and all his skills have become 1 level stronger, and their limit has risen. The protagonist says that the original skill strength is E rank, but with his talent, it can reach C rank. According to the diagram with Fireball as an example, a B+ rank Fireball is much more powerful than the same skill of E and C rank. He adds that their strength is now comparable to B+ rank, which is even stronger than some class skills. A cross materializes in the protagonist's hand. A notification appears stating that the Rebirth Cross S is automatically consumed upon death, and the owner appears at a safe point. The main character looks at the green cross in his hand and says that it is like a second life, a real jewel. A notification appears according to which, thanks to the Super Self-Healing S+, the protagonist's cells are endowed with vitality, which will allow him to avoid many serious injuries, and the Divine Lightning S is able to move through space using lightning. The main character smiles and says that he is silent about Super Self-Healing, and even Divine Flash is an incredible skill that combines both defense and attack, and then notes that the system is worried about his life. The main character's sister comes into the room and calls her brother. He goes to him with the phone and says that there is chaos outside and he is shown everywhere on the news, and they also talk about his reward. The main character looks at the smartphone and says not to talk about it yet and adds that many are trying to use it as advertising. Yun Tiang with a smile on his face says that this is a lot of money and asks the main character if he will refuse it. The protagonist says that he will accept a gift from the Ministry of Education, but not from others, because the most profitable one will be the one from whom they do not require anything in return. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, says that he will go to school, because the commission is probably already there. A reporter girl with black hair asks a guy in a red sweater if he is Yun Chen's classmate, and what impression he made on him. The reporter asks the guy to tell him more about how he went to the toilet with him. The main character in sunglasses and a hood thought that these reporters were completely crazy. If he had not prepared, he would definitely not have gotten into school. He adds that they wandered around the house and wonders if Yun Tiang will be able to cope with them. There is a sign at the door to the office that says conference room. The director says that, as he understands, they are all from the best academies in the country. Standing next to him is teacher Jim. Many people in business suits are sitting at the table. Dongyun asks if they came for the provincial champion Yun Chen, curator of the admissions committee at King Academy, Oh Hua. He holds a thermos in his hand and tells the directors that according to the local news, one student introduced the classless trend, which is why everyone became reckless, and he still dares to brag about it. He hits the table with a thermos and says let Yun Chen choose a class immediately. His expression looks angry. He says that otherwise, even if he doesn't think about entering the doors of King Academy. The director asks teacher Oh Hua what he means and adds that Yun Chen is already a provincial champion who has shown everyone what he is capable of. He asks that he really wants to take away the exclusivity of the main character. The curator leans his hands on the table and says that everyone must understand that the classless have no future, and this applies even to the champion. Purple-haired student Tian Yuanju tells his mentor not to be angry, because after all, Donghyun is in the middle of nowhere and a student from the backwoods is not worth attention. Tian Yuanju with a smile on his face says that Yun Chen has already given up his future, because he chose fleeting popularity for the sake of appreciation, and obviously he is not very far-sighted. Oh Hua also smiles and says that he just found a loophole to get the highest grade and he is definitely not worthy of the threshold of their academy. Jin, with an angry expression on his face, asks him not to say such nonsense and shouts to him that he doesn't understand how hard it is to be classless. He adds that the main character is a true champion and did not use any loopholes. Oh Hua asks the teacher if he is sure he wants to continue, and then advises him to calm down. A woman with black hair that gives off a dark aura tells the curator that Donghyun School is their school in Jiangnan province, and then asks him if he really thinks that she will get away with such a provocation. Oh Hua with an arrogant expression on her face asks what she will do to them, because they have more talents. One of those present shouts that this is all a misunderstanding and there is no need to make a fuss. Jin asks what kind of misunderstanding this is. A King Academy student spoke rudely about their student. The director shouts to everyone to stop and asks why they came here, to recruit or fight. Tian Yuanju puts his hand forward and says that they are here for the sake of recruitment. But they have a lot of suspicions and it seems that the entrance exams have been inflated and not everything is true. Someone pressed the door handle and it opened. The main character asks the student if he is in trouble. The director and Jin say with smiles that the main character has arrived. Donghyun is about to introduce the guests, but the main character interrupts him. Yun Chen with a dissatisfied expression on his face says that there is no need, because he heard everything outside. He approaches Tian Yuanju and asks him if he is a King Academy student, and if he wants to check how true everything he said is. The student asks how he can check. The main character with an ominous expression on his face tells the student that he is challenging him and if the main character does not win in 5 breaths, he will lose. Tian Yuanju asks the main character if he really wants to defeat him in 5 breaths. He laughs and wonders if he really decided to give up the challenge as soon as he graduated. He adds that he doesn't know how much the main character values himself, but he should be put in his place. Jin tells Yun Chen to calm down, because King Academy is one of the best in the country. He adds that this person has been studying there for more than a year, and is much stronger. Tian Yuanju shows 2 fingers and says that someone chickened out and adds that they still heard that it was not he who proposed, but the main character who challenged. The director thought that the main character was too fast. His opponent was level 19. And he himself was level 13, which is a monstrous difference. Jim, there are spectators at the front door, the main character and the student are standing opposite each other. Oh Hua with an arrogant expression on his face tells Tian Yuanju that he only needs 5 breaths, and he will win. But he should be taught a lesson a little. Tian Yuanju crosses his arms and tells the teacher not to worry because he will crush the main character in 3 spells. Jin calls the director, who says that nothing can be done. All we can do is hope for a miracle. Tian Yuanju holds a staff with a blue crystal in his hand and says that he is a magician, and then asks the main character if he will use a sword staff, combining sword and magic skills. The main character holds a staff in his hand and says that the sword staff is damaged and only the staff works. The main character says that, nevertheless, this is enough for him, which angers his rival. Tian Yuanju calls the main character crazy with an angry expression for wanting to defeat him. The guy concentrates magical energy in the staff and says that he is now in excellent shape. The casting speed of the spell is only 0.7 seconds and adds that the main character will not stop him. He opened his eyes wide. A huge purple fireball flies towards the student. The student wonders if the protagonist is casting a spell faster. Tian Yuanju creates a magical shield in front of himself and thought that he would have to interrupt the skill. Cracks appear in the magical shield. With worry on his face, he thought that the shield was being destroyed, and this fireball was too strong. He looks up and sees many clots of fire flying at him. A powerful fiery explosion occurs, which the main character watches. Yun Chen thought with a serious expression that this was the end. Black smoke at the sight of the explosion dissipates. Tian Yuanju lies on the ground, defeated and coughing. The main character puts his foot on his back. He says that this is the entire strength of a King Academy student. Jin with a shocked expression says that it was a frontal attack with instant fireballs. The fight lasted only 2 seconds. He asks if Yun Chen really defeated a level 19 mage with magic skills. A man in a black jacket and black hair says that even magicians do not have such fast casting, and he does not believe it, because in his resume his talent almighty can be raised to a maximum of C rank. The man from the shadows says that especially since the color of the fireball was purple and the power was just right, clearly strength comparable to the rank. The director smiles and says that this is the evolution of talent. His talent almighty is really developing. Jin says that during the intro, the color of the main character's fireball was red. The girl with the scar on her face looks at the two in surprise. She opened her eyes wide and thought that the only disadvantage of classless is that over time they reach the peak of skill, which is why the gap between classes becomes huge. But his talent not only increases the level of skills, but can also develop, and at this rate he may become stronger. She adds that combined with his incredible fighting skills and instincts, he is a genius in a million. Many people gather around the main character. One of the curators asks the main character to join their Dongfu Academy, and they will provide him with 3 rank items. Another man says that he is from Tianwu Academy, and they will provide 3 gold rank items. Another man would like to join their academy in exchange for 5 rank and 5 B rank items. The main character tells them that they are just throwing away money. Oh Hua, with a dissatisfied expression on her face and closed eyes, asks what is the point of a talent developed once. He opens his eyes and says that the main character has no future, and then asks if they really think that he is worth it. The curator with black hair tied in a bun says that something smells sour. The man with black hair says that everything has come to the point that King Academy has lost face in this recruitment. The bald curator tells Ohua that his student is still lying on the ground and can better help him instead of empty words. He grunts displeasedly and goes to the door. The man with black hair says that they don't even care about the students and asks the main character to forget about them, because their academy is ready to add another rank subject. A man with his hair tied in a bun calls them disgraces. The guy with gray hair says that the best mentors will teach at their academy. The girl with a scar approaches the main character and tells the main character that since he is the best graduate of Jiangnan province, he can enter Jiangnan Academy. She promises to provide the main character with books with basic skills for all classes. A tree appears with symbols of many classes. The girl says that the skills are not limited only to their country, there are many other classes abroad. She adds that there is a country called Fuso, where there are classes such as ninja, onmedzi, and samurai. She raises her hand at neck level and says that in the West there are witchers, sorcerers, and vampires. She adds that the main character, having joined on recommendation, will be able to gain access to hidden classes if he tries, and their alchemical and equipment forge will provide the necessary equipment, polymorphic weapons. There is a symbol on the chest. One of the curators made a shocked expression on his face. Another surprised curator thought how much they would go bankrupt. Another curator thought that books with skills for classes from other countries and hidden classes are not so easy to get, plus expensive polymorph weapons on top. All of them, looking at the curator girl, thought that this was the perfect combination for the classless. The main character looks at the girl and says that the choice is obvious. With a smile on his face, he prepares to offer the girl his hand for a handshake and says that he chooses Jiangnan Academy. The defeated student is still lying on the ground. One of the curators says that the choice is logical. Another curator says that he should have paid more attention to his specification. The main character with a satisfied expression on his face says that their offer is the most profitable of all. And besides, this academy is closer. The park. The red altar is located among the trees. The main character walks along a path among the bushes. He uses the divine lightning skill and a swirling cloud of energy appears. Yan Chen jumps into it to teleport. He appears on top of the red altar. He uses divine lightning numerous times. He sits on a tree, breathes heavily and says that divine lightning is just something, and then adds that the distance and speed of movement exceed all his skills, but it is also very exhausting. The main character's phone vibrates in his pocket. He looks at the smartphone screen and sees that Jiangnan Academy sent him 7 million, and then says that they were generous. He adds that they should have already brought the rest of the rewards, and now it's time to return home and practice evasion. The main character uses divine lightning and disappears from the tree. He approaches a car near which there are 2 people. A guy with black hair greets the main character. A guy with gray hair holds a container in his hands and says that they are from Jiangnan Academy. He says with a smile on his face that this is one of the promised items, a polymorph weapon. The main character opens the container. Inside the container is a shiny spear with a shield on it called the Demonic Destroyer. A window with information about it appears near the spear, where it is written that it is a demonic destroyer of gold quality, and with 3 stars. It gives plus 10 strength, plus 10 wisdom, and its effect is the ability to switch between 3 forms. At the end of the spear there are 2 blades, or spear form, 35% increased physical attack and armor penetration. At the top of the spear there is 1 solid blade. Longsword form, 25% cause bleeding per attack. The spear looks like a staff with a blue stone at the end. Staff form, 35% increased magic damage as well as magic penetration. The main character looks at his weapon and says that it is equivalent to 3 gold rank weapons, thanks to which he will not have to carry a pile of equipment with him. He thanks the people from the academy. The guy with gray hair says no problem. This weapon has been lying in the academy for a long time waiting for its owner. He adds that it will last a decent amount of time. He says that in general, weapons are divided by quality: black iron, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, legendary, and so on. Many different weapons are on a green background. The guy says that each weapon has a personal star rating, but this requires money. He adds that the main character can re-enchant the weapon and then his star rating will become higher, and his strength will increase. The guy with black hair opens the trunk. The guy with gray hair throws up his hands and says that this also has its risks, because if the enhancement fails, the weapon can become worse or be completely destroyed. The main character replies that he will be more careful. The guy with gray hair points to the trunk and says that he brought something else, more than a weapon. There are many books in the trunk. The guy from the academy says that these are books with the basic skills of some rare classes. There are not too many of them, but it should be enough for a start. The main character looks at the books with a happy expression and says that's it. The guy with gray hair says that the rest will be available in the library without using credits. A guy with black hair hands over an envelope with keys and says that he is here from the city of Donghyun, and in addition to the scholarship, the city has provided him with a villa. He adds that here are the keys and the contract for the house, and then asks the main character to sign and keep them. A stone path leads to a luxurious 3-story villa. The main character is surprised at how huge the mansion is. Inside there is a luxurious interior with a fireplace. Yun Tiang says with a happy expression that their house is like the bathroom in this house. She invites her brother to look around here. The main character reads a book and asks what is the point of inspecting your own house. He turns over the pages and says that these are books with the skills of a sorcerer and a witcher. The sister made a dissatisfied expression on her face. Yun Chen finds the skills of a knight and says that there are even such rare classes here. A man is wearing a virtual reality helmet on his head. The main character says that 70 years ago a game called Divine Domain was released and hundreds of millions of people played it. A huge golden glow appears among the crowd of people. People did not start with the human race, but chose such as elves, orcs, gnomes, and the like. Later, once the game merged with reality, these characteristics were passed down as bloodline, and people of different races married ordinary people and bred offspring of people with special bloodlines. The embryo sleeps in the middle of a golden ball. It is worth noting that not only the system and items were integrated into the world, but also a large map, NPCs, monsters, and much more. In the middle of 2 pieces of land there is a sea. As a result, the world has become 10,000 times larger than the past, and its topography is no longer the same as it was in the past. The world map is reflected in the pupil of the main character. He thought that Donghyun City is a small place. It is difficult to meet people of other races here. He sits on a chair with many books on the table and thought that only by coming to Jongnan can he experience the world outside. Yun Chen spent the rest of the day studying. He was obsessed with it. The system offers one of 3 rewards for the daily task, 10 attribute points, 19 skill points, hidden skill book. In a month, he not only mastered rare classes, but also practiced with the demonic destroyer, completely mastering it. The main character meditates with a spear in his hands. He spent the remaining month with Yun Tiang. The protagonist and his sister ride a roller coaster. Together they visited many places that they could only look at. Brother and sister had a great time. The start of the school semester is finally approaching. Yun Tiang cries in the arms of the main character and says that he will miss him. Yun Chen smiles and tells her to call if she needs anything and not to deny herself anything, because they have enough money and she needs to take care of herself. The sister tells her brother not to forget to eat and wash. The ribbons on the main character's jacket flutter in the wind. The main character, with a smile on his face and luggage on his back, says that it is time to go. The next destination is Jongnan Academy. Jongnan Province, Jongnan City, Jongnan Academy. Many people are walking up the long stairs. The main character walks among many people. The main character looks around and thought that this place is worthy of the 7th academy in the country. Beautiful. In the foreground are an elf girl and a man with sharp teeth. The girl holds an envelope in her hands and asks the main character if he is a new student. She says that she is in charge of registration, so he needs to give him a resume. The protagonist hands the girl an envelope. The girl reads the documents from the envelope and says that he is Yun Chen from the city of Donghyun. One of the people nearby asks if he is Yun Chen. A man with gray hair says that this is the best student among the provinces, the one who is classless. A man with black hair and an angry expression laughs and says that's what he looks like. The girl with animal ears says that she will definitely take his place. The main character, with a surprised expression on his face, says that he is attracting a lot of attention and wonders how he even got into such a situation. The elf tells the main character that this is because he is currently the first among the students, and also the first who took this place without a class, and in this case it will be difficult not to attract attention. The main character asks if he is the first among the students. The elf says that this is true, because he took first place among the provinces, which gives great advantages. For example, a huge number of loans. Money at the academy is not as useful as loans, you can afford anything with it. They walk across the square and the girl says that as for the other advantages, the main character will find out about them himself. She adds that she will take the main character to the hostel. The dark-skinned guy looks at the elf and says that he also wants such a beautiful escort and he is jealous. A muscular guy with horns asks if this is the privilege of first place. The girl and the main character are climbing the stairs. The elf asks the main character whether he has decided which department to enter. The main character asks what kind of pulpit. The elf with a smile on her face says that Jeongnan Academy has 5 departments: military, elemental, weapons, tactical, and support. She adds that each department focuses on its own unique activities. A red banner appears. The military department is qualified at the forefront of battle. They have a strong bias towards killing. A blue banner appears. The elemental department is classified in magical training and is the best choice for a mage. A blue banner appears. The tactical department focuses on theory and tactics, group control, and so on. A brown banner appears. The weapons department, as the name suggests, focuses on weapons. They learn to rely more on weapons than skills. A green banner appears. Support departments specialize in enchanting, blacksmithing, healing, alchemy, and so on. The main character says that the tactical department and the support department are definitely excluded. The remaining 3 suit him much better. The girl stops near the right place. She says that they have arrived. In front of them is the dormitory building. The main character asks what this is and is this really his hostel, and he will live here alone. The girl says that this is so. The house has 3 floors. Furniture and equipment are of the highest quality. She adds that it has its own training ground, training room, hot tub, and much more, and along the perimeter there is a sports track, which also has storage for resources. The main character with a surprised expression on his face says that there is such a hard line between students. The elf says that she doesn't know whether the main character will like it, but that's how it is. She looks at the main character and says that nevertheless, because of this, many will look at the main character with envy. She adds that, as usual, tomorrow there will be a meeting of newcomers. In a week there will be a competition for beginners. Everyone will try to take the place of the main character. Many hands appear around the main character. The girl says that all those who come to the academy are geniuses among the provinces, including the 2nd and 3rd place, from whom they took their place by force. They will try to take everything away from him. The main character opens a system window. He sees a task under the terms of which he needs to maintain first place in the competition for beginners. There is no penalty for failure, and as a reward you will be given a new S-rank skill and a potion of luck. The main character smiles and laughs, and then says let them take a chance. The next day, a guard with a banner stands near the huge clock. Many academy workers stand in front of the students, among whom is the main character. The guy in the white bandana tells the girl to point at the main character and say that he is their number 1, the classless Yun Chen. The girl says that the main character lives in a mansion at the top of the mountain, and they can only look at him from the slope. The guy in the bandana replies that it's somehow offensive. The guy with long black hair says that he is the first in his province and why should he come after him. The guy with gray hair says that he is also against it, because the main character cheated in the exam anyway. The guy with black hair adds that the protagonist is a simple classless one who didn't bother to choose a class and he will demolish it with one finger. Elf with red eyes Shang Tyran, champion of the Daju province, class, Blood Knight. He says that he needs to challenge him in the arena if they don't agree, and there's no point in yelling. Black hair girl Yi Kingling, champion of Dunlin province, class, Taoist. She says with disgust that it is not good to talk about people behind their backs. Guy with half-shaved head Zhu Hongfeng, second in Jiangnan province, class, Mage of Destruction. He gritted his teeth and said that the main character stole his place and therefore may not expect mercy, and as soon as the meeting ends, he will drag him down. Learning campus. The building is almost entirely glass. Dean of the military department, Yanfu. The bearded old man laughs and says that it seems the kids are worried about the rating and how noisy it is because of it. A man with brown hair stands next to the old man and says that he heard that the student council is not very happy with the new first place, Yun Chen, and the champions of the other provinces believe that he received advantages because he is from among the locals. Yanfu says that the kids really underestimate his grade. All the deans looked at that recording and everyone is confident in their decision. Someone comes closer to the glass. This is a girl with blue-pink hair, the dean of the weapons department, the queen of Yangshan, Xia Qingcheng. She says that Yun Chen's fighting skills are high and like her, he has an innate fighting sense and talent for various weapons, so he will be hers. The man behind her says that this is the first time he has seen Dean Xia treat a student like this. The girl with two braids says that she is usually cold and does not waste words, because she was even nicknamed the Ice Queen for this. A man with black hair tied in a bun says that Yun Chen is incredibly talented and should not be missed. Yanfu laughs and says that not only is it interesting to the audience, but also the teachers want it, and if so, then the game should be speeded up. The old man hits the ground with the tip of his cane. He teleports to the square in front of the students. The main character looks at him and says that according to the leadership of the academy, the military department is the strongest among the 5 others, and he is the head of the military department. He looked seriously and noticed that it was Yanfu. The old man says that he knows about the complaints and dissatisfaction of the students, so it was decided to hold a competition for beginners today. He says that now you need to go and rest, and at 2 o'clock the competition will begin and you need to approach the Nanyang site by this time. Students raise their fists in the air and shout yes. 2 hours, Nanyang site. Many students are standing in front of the gate. Teachers watch them from a height. Kingling says that this is a silver rank gate and sees it for the first time. The guy with black hair says they deserve their reputation. Zhu Hongfeng says that he heard that all the gates are controlled by special authorities and the higher the academy, the larger and better the controlled gates. The guy with black hair and a black shirt says that it looks like the introductory ones and here, too, the results will be determined by completing the dungeon. Zhu Hongfeng says that the main character will be one of the steps on his path. The main character thought that he was sure that they were all ready to tear him apart. He adds that he will look at the strength of these provincial geniuses. The teacher in ski goggles says that the beginner competition directly affects students' loans and living conditions, so they need to take it seriously. He adds that there are no prohibitions in the competition and they can use absolutely any drugs. The main thing is not to get drunk with them to death. The gates open and streams of air come out of them. The teacher throws up his hand and shouts that the competition has begun and you can enter the dungeon. Blue particles of the game system appear near the main character. Dungeon name, Troll's Lair. Rating, level 12-15, difficulty, nightmare, required number of participants, 1-5. Many trolls are standing in the trees. According to the dungeon note, there is a troll village in the dark and gloomy forest. Rumor has it that their morale increases in the dark. The main character appears in the middle of the forest and with a spear in his hand says that he needs to hurry. He jumps towards the enemy. A guy with a cybernetic body and a lot of weapons shoots at enemies and shouts that this is the power of a mechanic. Teachers watch the progress of the battle. Yanfu says not bad, as expected from a mechanic ranked 653rd. For him the nightmare is not such a problem. He notes that this year the quality of the set is high. A guy with black hair points his finger at someone and says that freshmen seem to be a priest in 213th place, and even so he decided to go alone. The guy lies in the grass among beetles with snakes and with a smile on his face asks God to help him, because he is a priest of a dark school, and the more food, the more damage. He adds that his dark attribute is rising at an incredible speed and he will definitely be in the top 10. The teachers made surprised expressions. The guy with black hair asks what kind of mess he made. Xia Qingcheng puts 2 fingers on his forehead and says to show Yun Chen immediately. The broadcast screen is interrupted. A guy with black hair with a surprised look says that it's him. Many troll corpses lie on the ground covered in blood. The guy with black hair shouts that he has already destroyed all the trolls and heads to the second room. He adds that the rest of the fastest students are still fighting, but he has already managed. The main character with a staff in his hand leaves defeated enemies behind. The guy with black hair shouts that he is too fast and this is a record speed. Standing next to him is the old dean of the elemental department, Lion Hexuan. He tells the guy that he is not looking carefully enough and his method is quite simple. Many trolls lie on the ground in the middle of the forest. The dean tells the guy to take a closer look. Most of the trolls are burned and there are no leaves on the surrounding trees, as if everything was blown away by the wind. A huge tornado destroys everything in its path. Lin Hexuan says that he must have used the main skill of the Eye of the Storm mages, and as soon as the trolls gathered in one place, he burned them with a fireball. Lots of fireballs causing explosions. Deka says that the wind intensified the flames, so the power of the fireball was much more effective and it destroyed them in an instant. Lion Hexuan says that this is not the easiest thing. His Eye of the Storm and fireball must be at least B rank. He adds that this boy is ideal for the Department of Elementals. Ianfu with a frustrated expression says that so far he is the best among the newcomers in terms of combat power, but the second room tests not only combat characteristics. Troll's Lair, Stage 2. There are bushes among the lifeless land. The main character walks through a dark land. His feet sink a little into the ground. He wonders if it is a swamp and says that because of the movements he is being sucked in more. He points his staff at the ground and uses a fireball. A powerful explosion occurs and the main character jumps away. He grouped his body perfectly. The protagonist with a serious expression on his face says that the swamp is a difficult terrain and the lighting is poor. He adds that it seems like it takes a lot of perception to pass this test. Green energy comes from his eye and he says that it will not be easy. A green aura appears around the main character because he uses the druid's main skill, Natural Affinity, which improves perception. The effect increases with the number of plants nearby. The protagonist makes a jump and thought that the usual Natural Affinity is just a basic skill that is not so strong, but he has a B+ rank. The main character sits on a tree and closes his eyes. He thought that it allowed him to resonate with plants and communicate with them. He opens his eyes and thinks that it doesn't matter whether it's a tree, a moss, or a vine. They can all become his eyes and ears. The plants around the main character are enveloped in a green aura. He jumps to another tree and says that the third room is there. He quickly jumps from one tree to another. He materializes the vines and guides them forward. He grabs one of the trees with his vines. Yun Chen flies near the ground. He jumps onto the next tree. The main character is watched by a red-skinned troll in a tree. He jumps away from the tree. The troll screams loudly while flying with a club in his hands towards the main character. The main character's staff lies on his shoulder and flames appear around it. The main character uses fireball and hits the troll directly. He turns around and tells the trolls that they don't seem to understand that all the plants are his eyes and ears. Many trolls on the tree are watching the main character. Yun Chen takes a fighting stance. A bright glow appears near him. He uses the main druid skill, Growth. Roots rise from the ground and crush several trolls. The main character walks among the trees and says that growth has also undergone changes. Usually the skill would simply stimulate the growth of plants, but his skill is different. He adds that his skill has a parasite effect. Tree roots impale one of the trolls. The main character says that once in the body, the tree will feed on it until the life force runs out. 3 trolls bound by a tree scream in pain. One of the observers says that the additional effects of this guy's skills are much better than many of the druid's skills. A guy with black hair points his finger at the broadcast screen, near which Ianfu is standing. He says that means his resume was true and his talent has evolved. Ianfu leans on a cane and says that the second test is a test of perception, as they all understand. Without sensitive feelings, you can get lost in an unfamiliar environment. He adds that you can not only get lost, in difficult terrain you can lose your life due to lack of information, but you can also get tired from wandering for a long time. The dark aura appears around the priest. The old man says that there are many skills that improve perception. For example, the dark priest's perception of darkness. The mechanic throws robots fastened together, and blue energy emanates from the magician's book. The old man says that the echolocator of a mechanic, the magic splash of a magician, and so on. A golden aura appears around the main character. The old man says that the main character chose the most suitable skill for the given area, Natural Affinity. He adds that of course there are alternative solutions. A magician of destruction can simply destroy everything around. Zhu Hongfeng spreads his arms to the sides and explodes everything around him. Shang Tyran points his huge sword forward. The old man says that a blood knight can mindlessly fly anywhere, relying on his protection. The main character runs and thinks that the swampy area ends. The further path will be easier. He looks around and says that the layout of the area resembles a labyrinth without proper perception. It's quite easy to get lost here. With a serious expression on his face, he thought that fortunately the plants were on his side. He sees a dark silhouette near the gate. A huge red troll with an axe sleeps near the gate. The main character stands in front of him at some distance and says that this is the entrance to the next room. You can see the snot coming from the troll's nose. According to the system description, this is a level 15 troll warrior leader whose difficulty is equal to silver with 3 stars. He has the skills Fury, Charge, Battle Cry. The troll opens one eye and says that he is hot. He opens his eyes wide. The main character concentrates powerful magical energy over himself. A fireball rushes towards the large troll. The troll is pushed into the gate. The enemy takes a fighting stance. One of the observers shouts that he is on the 3rd team. The troll looks to the side and sees many trolls and a dark silhouette on the throne. The troll bows and begs his boss to forgive him for failing to keep the entrance, and then adds that the vile man snuck up while he was sleeping. A huge troll with an angry expression on his face tells the troll that he forgives him this time. The leader of the troll warriors clenches his fist and shouts to the boss that he will crush this man and atone for his sin. The troll looks in surprise at the main character, who asks the troll who he will crush there. The protagonist stands behind him. The main character's weapon is transformed. The tip of the spear becomes solid. Yun Chen tells the boss that since he wants to atone for his sins, he will help him. The main character makes 3 lightning attacks on the troll's back. He used the knight's main skill, Air Cut. The enemy falls to the ground with a deafening crash. A huge troll, armed with a hammer, rises from his throne and shouts, asking the protagonist how he dared to kill his watchdog, and then curses him. According to the description from the system, this is a level 17 troll leader with gold difficulty with 2 stars. His skills are unknown. Many different trolls look at the main character. Among them there is a level 15 troll hunter with such skills as grab, bite, accurate throw. According to the note, this is the guardian of the troll chieftain, a born cruel hunter who shines in battle. Among them there is also a level 15 troll wizard who has skills such as poison mist, silence, madness. According to the note, despite the fact that they are trolls, God gave them the perception of the elements. A lens appears near the main character's eye. He used the main skill, assessment. He says that it is not easy to deal with so many monsters, and even the boss with them. The main character turns his weapon into a staff and says that in this case he will prepare a feast for them. The troll leader jumps on the main character and swings his hammer. The main character made an upset expression on his face and is trembling, and also cannot say a word. The troll strikes with a hammer and asks the main character if he is really asking for mercy. The boss looks with his pupils to the left. He asks the frightened protagonist if he is still alive, and also suggests that he is using the cloning skill. The boss tightens his grip on the hammer. He shouts that no matter how many clones the main character summons, he will kill everyone. He wishes the main character to die many times, scattering clones around him. A purple fireball rushes towards the clones of the main character. The troll chief laughs very loudly as an explosion goes off behind him. The troll leader points his finger at the troll wizard and tells him that he is good since he can use fire magic in addition to dark magic. He asks him to wait for the moment when they kill this man, and then he will put him in the position of captain. The leader scatters Yun Chen clones around, laughs, and orders the clones to be killed. The troll wizard burns clones of the main character around him. A frightened clone of the main character lies in front of the troll leader. The boss laughs and points the hammer at the clone, shouting that he is the only one left and it looks like he is the real one. A crack appears in the clone image and it crumbles. The troll leader is very surprised and asks why. The clone image disappears. A blue-skinned troll was hidden behind it. A purple fireball flies towards the trolls. A fireball flies into the blue-skinned troll. The leader asks what is happening. The troll behind the boss transforms into the main character, and then he says that he thought he could still lead him by the nose. Yun Chen, staff in hand, tells him that he has already begun to come to his senses. He adds that thanks to him, he saved a lot of time. The troll leader sees many defeated subordinates and asks what it is. Spectators look at the broadcast screen. The guy with black hair asks why their leader began to kill his own brothers, because he saw Yun Chen blowing them up too. Wyan Hexuan says that he used the Onmeji skill, the Soul Confusion spell. Purple energy emanates from the main character's eye. The old man reveals that Onmeji is a unique class in Fuso. It can cloud the target's mind and plunge them into deep hallucinations. He adds that, of course, the original skill Confusion of Souls would not have enough strength to deal with the boss. A violet aura is visible around the dark image. The old man says that this is all because of the protagonist's talent. He has increased the power of the skill many times over. Ianfu says that he deliberately killed the leader of the troll warriors in front of his eyes, thereby causing a surge of emotions in the target, which greatly increases the chance of successfully casting the spell. The guy with black hair says that he is counting on so many steps forward. This man is terrifying. The girl with gray hair says that now the skill is dispelled, the same trick will not work on him. She asks what he will do next. The troll leader makes a dash and shouts to the main character that he is a vile person and will now be killed. He steps on a metal device within lead. A powerful explosion occurs, which the main character observes. The black smoke clears and the boss troll screams in the soot that it was mean. The main character laughs looking at him. Yun Chen smiles and tells him that while he's having fun there, he prepared carefully, and then asks if he thinks he can get him. The main character attacks the boss with lightning. He used the Onmeji's main skill, lightning. He attacks the boss with a magical cloud of energy, using the sorcerer's main skill, bone spike. 2 stones fall on the boss. The main character used the main skill of the magician, rockfall. The troll chief steps on another device and is now engulfed in flames. The main character used the main mechanic skill on it, explosive device. The boss is breathing heavily due to the injuries inflicted on him. He closes with his hammer. The main character stands among the smoke and tells the boss that, as expected of him, he is strong. The troll begins to move among the smoke and attacks the main character. The main character moves and says that he is sorry, but he only got to the clone. He makes several strikes with a blade-shaped spear using the knight's main skill, air cleave. The boss drops his weapon to the ground with a deafening crash. The system congratulates the main character on successfully completing the dungeon on nightmare difficulty. Its completion time is 11 minutes and 43 seconds, and its result has been successfully registered, and it is necessary to collect the reward for completion. The guy with black hair says that Yun Chen is an incredible student. The girl with brown hair says that trap skills are one of the hardest to use. Many cannot use them correctly, so for many it is a useless skill. She adds that he shows all the potential, even such unimpressive skills. Ianfu, looking at the screen, says that the remaining minions are still in the boss room and are just finishing the battle with the little thing. He adds that at the first stage, first place remains with Yun Chen. Xia Qingcheng with her eyes closed says great, now she will have such an outstanding freshman in her department and Noah can't wait for it. Ianfu tells the girl that his military department will not give up such a student. They look at each other like rivals. A girl with brown hair and a striped shirt says that Yun Chen hasn't even left the dungeon yet, and they have already started sharing it. The guy with black hair says that this is interesting and wonders who he will choose. The corpse of the troll leader disappears before the eyes of the main character. An axe appears above the boss. According to the system, taking into account the difficulty and time of completion, his score is SSS and he has set a new record that will be recorded. Reward: 21,350 experience points, 25 attribute points, and 25 skill points. Obtained a gold rank storm axe with 2 stars. Received the title Troll Destroyer, which increases damage dealt to the troll race by 35%. The main character looks at his hand with a smile and names the numbers 14, 15, and 16. He says that he immediately increased the level by 3, and this is a great feeling. According to the system, since the main character is the first to achieve such a rating, he will receive a talent as a reward. A purple symbol appears. This is a dual spell, allowing you to use the same spell twice at once. A red symbol appears. This is an aura of strength that increases attack speed by 30%, and every third attack deals 80% additional damage. A blue symbol appears. This is a battle madness. When attacking the same target, with each attack the attack speed increases by 4%. Has no restrictions. The main character props up his chin and says that there are new talents again. When he broke the record last time, the aura of power also appeared. He says with a smile that this is the second time she has appeared, so he will choose the double spell since it will be better than the others. A symbol appears on the protagonist's forehead when he receives the double spell talent. The main character puts his weapon behind his back and says it's time to go back. Energy gathers before the eyes of the main character. A portal materializes from energy. The main character, with a surprised expression on his face, says that he cleared the dungeon, but a new passage has appeared. He opened his eyes wide and said that this is a hidden level, and he had heard about them, but he was seeing them for the first time. He says that they say that with a small probability, after completing the dungeon, another passage may open and you can enter it. He adds that there are very strange and special monsters there. Passing such a level can be very dangerous, but nevertheless it can bring a lot of benefits. Since this is an unofficial level, it does not affect the ranking or record in any way. A red box materializes in front of many players. Yun Chen enters the portal and says that this is a good opportunity, and he has nothing to lose, and he has plenty of strength. He adds that he will see what awaits him. The purple gate opens and someone comes out of it with lightning speed. Zhu Hongfeng lands on the ground and says that there is no one else, only him. He asks if he came first. He spreads his arms wide and laughs. He shouts that he says that Yun Chen is a liar and he is the best in Jiangnan province. He adds that he finally won his due and crossed it. Zhu Hongfeng turns back and tells Sheng Tyran that he is second, and if he were even a couple of seconds faster, he could take first place. The elf asks if Yun Chen is not the first and adds that he thought that he was his rival, and it seems that classless people still have a hard time and it was fleeting glory. Other players emerge from the portal. The guy with the sword behind his back laughs and says that Yun Chen is not in the top 10. The man in the robe smiles and says that the management made a mistake. The guy just found a loophole, so why should he be the first? He adds that he is afraid that he will be forced to change classes. Yi Qingling looks at the main character through the broadcast screen and asks if it is him, and then adds that his copy of the dungeon is different from the one they had. The main character finds himself on the other side of the gate. Zhu Hongfeng with a shocked expression says that this is a hidden level and adds that he has already completed the dungeon and entered the hidden level. Sheng Tyran with a surprised expression says that this is impossible. The guy in the brown robe shouts that he cheated, and also that he does not believe that the main character is so fast. The guy in the black shirt shouts that this is simply inhuman speed. Dianfu asks everyone to be quiet and wait for the results without making any noise. The broadcast is interrupted and viewers express their dissatisfaction. Dianfu rubs his beard and says he can't believe he activated the hidden level. He adds that he doesn't think it's worth showing it. The main character sees a scarecrow that is between two columns. The main character with a serious expression on his face says that the room is large and there are no monsters visible. He adds that there is only a scarecrow here, and is this really his opponent? The main character looks at the scarecrow and the system informs that this is a cursed straw man of level 1, the difficulty of which is unknown. The main character looks at it using the assessment skill and then asks if he imagines that it is level 1. He adds that no, he is too strange and you need to be careful. The scarecrow bends over and streams of wind emanate from it. The main character spins the spear in his hands and says that it is attacking, and it would be best to call the water elemental and find out what it is. The scarecrow pushes off the ground directly towards the main character. It almost reached the protagonist, which is why he noticed that it was fast. Yun Chen uses the divine lightning skill and teleports. He moves a sufficient distance from the enemy. He smiles and says it was close. The scarecrow stands in one place and does not move. The main character looks at him and notices that he has his hair. He wonders if he didn't mean to attack, but just wanted to take a couple of hairs from him. Magical energy emanates from the scarecrow. Yun Chen shouts that no matter what techniques he has, he will get rid of him quickly. He concentrates powerful energy in his hand and pushes away using the striker's main skill, Explosive Step. The protagonist attacks the scarecrow with his fist, using the striker's main skill, Fire Fist. A powerful fiery explosion occurs. The scarecrow jumps away from the main character. There are traces of soot on Yun Chen. He says that it was his blow, and how could he inflict it on himself? The main character looks at the scarecrow, which looks similar to the main character, and notices that he also took the blow and did not dodge. He adds that he has his appearance and is called the Cursed Straw Man. The scarecrow looks at the main character. It is heading towards him. The scarecrow falls headfirst and hits the ground. Yun Chen felt the pain of the blow and thought that the damage done to this man would come back to him. The main character jumps and says that he should not attack him because he could harm himself. The scarecrow kicks the wall. The main character falls to the ground and screams that he is in pain. He uses his staff and directs the vines towards the enemy. The scarecrow punches the wall. The main character holds his hand and drops his staff due to pain. The wounded protagonist laughs and thanks the scarecrow and adds that he was too self-confident. He has something to strive for. Teachers watch the main character through the screen. Dianfu says the boy is in a tough fight. Xia Qingcheng says that this straw man is not an easy opponent, but she thinks he can handle it. Dianfu asks why Xia Qingcheng thinks so. The girl with blue-pink hair says that he looks calm and there is no hint of panic in his eyes. Yun Chen says that with such a state of mind, he will overcome anything. Yun Chen holds his wounded hand and says that he understands. The scarecrow fooled him and it seems that he was mistaken about his skills and he did not connect their lives. Smoke comes from the main character. He says that the damage he received is simply transferred to him, and he only imitates the wounds. Yun Chen's hand is enveloped in blue energy due to the use of the priest's main skill, healing. He tells the Scarecrow that he is level 1 and does not have as much health as he did at level 16. He adds that the Scarecrow would have healed its wounds long ago if it had such healing power, but it only restored its right arm. The protagonist asks if he copied his attributes and adds that it is even more unlikely because with his strength and durability, hitting the wall would destroy the wall, but would not damage the fist, so it definitely did not copy the attributes. Yun Chen hits the wall and it collapses. The Scarecrow holds onto his injured arm. The main character raises his hand and says that the conditions seem to be equal and his damage is also transferred to the Scarecrow. He adds that it decided to pretend to be wounded so that the main character would not understand anything. Yun Chen concentrates the fire in his hand. He wondered if the Scarecrow could survive all the damage just like him. The main character sets his body on fire. The Scarecrow is engulfed in flames and screams in pain. The Scarecrow disintegrates into particles. The main character looks at the burning enemy and says that, fortunately, it is only level 1 and he would not be in trouble if their level was equal. In place of the stuffed animal, only a small doll remains. According to the system description, this is a cursed straw man, whose category rules, and the number of uses is 1. Effect: by wrapping the target's hair around the cursed straw man's neck, all damage received by the cursed straw man will be transferred to the target. Note, the effect does not depend on the target's level. The main character looks at the straw doll and says that this is an amazing item and in the right hands it is very useful. Many students are standing at the gate. They are unhappy that everything did not end because of the weight of one student. The main character appears near the gate. He approaches the students and asks why everyone is standing here and if something happened. A bald guy with an angry expression on his face calls the main character stupid and says that they are waiting for him. The guy with black hair tells the main character that only after all the students have completed the dungeon can they move on to the next stage. The guy with blue hair asks everyone to line up. The main character, with a satisfied expression on his face, thought that he had broken the record and became the first, but the task of the system has not yet been completed, and does this really mean that the competition for beginners is not over yet? Yanfu stands in front of the students. He says that some of them do not deserve their places and adds that they were tricked into finding out about the replica dungeons in advance and preparing for them. The guy in bandages asks who they are talking about. The guy with his hair tied in a bun replies that he doesn't know, but nevertheless he must be one of the rich ones, if only they had enough money for it. Zhu Hongfeng thought with an angry expression on how the old man knew about this. Yanfu asks everyone to be quiet and says that in order to test what they are really capable of, one-on-one battles will be held. Many stone arenas appear. A guy in black clothes asks if the arenas really appeared out of thin air. The man in the orange jacket says he has never heard of this. Yanfu shouts that the rules are simple. They can challenge anyone to a duel, and if they win, they will take away the place and credits. He adds that there can be no refusal of challenges and asks them to show their strength. The students raise their fists up and agree with the old man. Students jump into stone arenas, agreeing on fights among themselves. The main character lands on one of the arenas. He thought that now it was clear why the task was not completed. He adds that so many people are angry at him and he's sure it will be interesting. The main character stands with his arms crossed and says that after so long they have a chance and calls on them to fight if they want to take his place. Many students look down at the main character. 2 students enter the arena. A bald guy with black bandages on his hands shouts to the teacher that he is challenging the strongest, first place Yun Chen. A man in a metal breastplate and with a sword shouts to the main character that he is challenging him. The main character beckons them with his hand and says that fighting in turns is too long and asks them to attack together. A bald guy with an angry expression on his face asks the main character how dare he. An equally evil guy with a sword tells the main character that they must teach this upstart a lesson. The bald man makes a quick tackle. The guy with the sword performs a flame strike and his sword is engulfed in flames. They both head towards the main character. Yun Chen speaks too slowly. Yun Chen performs a kick. He used the fighter's main skill, trample. Stone parts of the arena are breaking off. The teacher covers his face and uses the shield skill. A barrier of blue energy is formed. It obscures the area around the user. A guy with long black hair shouts that if the teacher didn't make it on time, they would be hurt too. A man with gray hair wonders what kind of monstrous power a trample has. The guy with brown hair asks if this is a basic skill for a fighter. A guy with his hair tied in a bun points his finger at and says that they have lost consciousness. Both defeated fighters lie among the stones. Yun Chen asks them if they want to continue. The teacher in ski goggles puts his hands forward and tells the main character to stop, because they cannot fight, and the main character has already won. With a smile on his face, he thought that this guy is strong and resilient, someone cannot be allowed to die. The main character turns to many students under the arena and asks who else wants to fight him. The main character stands in the arena and asks who else wants to fight him. The students look scared when they hear this. The guy in the black shirt says that while trample stuns and deals damage, its effectiveness depends on the user's attribute. The guy in the brown shirt says that the main character amazingly stunned 2 people at once and for a long time, and then asks how strong he is. The guy in the orange shirt asks the guy in the black shirt if he is the strongest one the dean mentioned. The guy with black hair asks who he is. Zhu Hongfeng thought with a dissatisfied expression that it is no wonder that he is number 1. Terrifyingly strong and no one dares to challenge him. Sheng Tyran takes a step forward and tells the main character that he will fight him. A blood knight with a large sword and shield heads towards the main character. The guy with the fur collar shouts that this is Sheng Tyran, champion of Daju province and 3rd place. The guy in the blue hood says that the elf has a legendary class. The guy in red clothes shouts that the time has finally come for a spectacular showdown. The elf with white hair says that she is also challenging. Some of those present wonder who this mysterious girl is, because even among the elves she is incredibly beautiful. Another observer says that this is the elven swordswoman, Nicole, the first in Xiangai province, ranked 5th. The girl heads towards the main character with a sword in her hand. One of those present says that she is not simple, she is an elf of the silver moon. These are one of the most noble elves, she is given higher attributes by nature. He adds that he also heard that her talent was rated as S-Rank, and that she is beautiful and strong. In a word, amazing. Sheng Tyran looks at the girl with a dissatisfied expression and says that he is the first. Nicole replies that no, she is the first. The main character with a menacing expression on his face says that they can attack together. The teacher shouts at them to quickly decide and start. The Blood Knight jumps into the arena and shouts to the main character that he will defeat him alone. Yanfu looks at what is happening in the arena and says that the legendary class is against the ordinary class. A good fight is planned. The teacher announces the start of the match. Sheng Tyran performs a bloody charge and quickly moves towards the main character. He hits him with his sword and red energy emanates from the point of impact. The audience admires this blow because even the energy barrier cracked. There is a crack on the barrier next to the main character. One of the spectators says that Yun Chen didn't even move. He easily dodged the powerful attack. The Blood Knight again heads towards the protagonist. The main character thought that the shoulder with the shield was lowered down, the hand holding the sword was horizontal, and the weight was distributed downwards. He thinks that even the distance between each step is precise, all to reduce the enemy's range of movement. He adds that his movements are exactly as in the textbooks, everything is perfect and without a single flaw. The main character points the staff towards the enemy and tells him that it looks like a machine. Everything is exactly according to the instructions. 2 fireballs rush into the knight's shield. Sheng Tyran laughs and says that a B-rank fireball won't come close to breaking through his defenses. The main character swings his staff and asks the enemy if he really wants to fight only with a turtle shell. The main character used the vine's skill and the plants wrapped around the enemy. The Blood Knight asks the main character what he will do with him once he tied him up and adds that he is not afraid of his magic. The main character says to grow and the beam is directed into the vines. The Blood Knight gritted his teeth and said that this plant can penetrate under armor and suck out vitality. He thought that he couldn't stop or all the juice would be squeezed out of him. He uses the Blood Flame skill and red flames come out of him. The main character says that he will not allow him to burn the vines and blue energy comes from his staff because he uses the main skill of the magician, Water Curtain of B+ rank. A large stream of water pours from the sky onto the night. One of the spectators points his finger at the screen and asks if this is really called a water curtain, and why it is so big. The guy with the shoulder pad says it's a whole little waterfall. The main character has transformed his weapon into a spear with 2 blades at the end and heads towards the enemy, using the main skill of a spearman, thrust. Sheng Tyran, with an angry expression on his face, thought that not only did the flames dissipate, but because of the water, the plants began to suck faster and hold tighter. He adds that he didn't want to use it, but there is no way out. The elf uses the blood movement skill and in its place only blood remains. He ends up behind the main character. Sheng Tyran attacks the main character in the back. Yun Chen turns back to the enemy. They clashed with each other. The Blood Knight asks the main character if he really blocked the blow. He thought that Blood Knights were famous for their strength and protection, but this guy's attributes were not inferior at all. He attacks the main character and shouts that this is impossible. Yun Chen blocks all of his enemies' attacks. Shang Tyran makes a dash towards the main character, and he does not believe that he will resist after this. He made a surprised expression on his face. The main character stands on the spear of his enemy and swings his weapon, and then says that now it's his turn. He punches his enemy in the face using the spearman's main skill, swing. The Blood Knight is pushed far to the side after being hit. He gets to his feet and shouts that it's just a coincidence. The main character appears behind the elf and holds a red dagger at his neck. Yun Chen says this is the end. He used the main assassin skill, stealth. Shang Tyran raises his hands and exhales, and then says that he is sorry, but he gives up. The teacher raises his hand and shouts that the winner is Yun Chen and receives 2,000 credits. Other students admire the protagonist's success. The Anfu rubs his beard and says that he has to say that Shang Tyran is pretty good. Not everyone can practice their moves so well, and yet it's a pity that the textbooks don't have a way to fight against the classless. Elf Nicole jumps into the arena. She moves the sword to the side and tells the main character that he is a serious opponent. But Shang Tyran can be defeated by crushing him with agility, and his advantage over her is meaningless. The main character takes his spear aside and tells the girl that you can only find out which of them is stronger and which is weaker in battle. The guy in the orange robe opened his eyes wide and said that classless versus Silver Moon. Human versus elf, the difference is colossal. The guy with long black hair says that this is Yun Chen's brother who just defeated the Blood Knight. The guy with black hair tied in a bun says that it's hard to say who is stronger. The main character stands opposite Nicole. The girl asks the main character if he is sure that he does not need rest and says that he does not want to win like that. Yun Chen says no need to have a serious expression on his face. The girl takes a fighting stance and says that the main character said it himself and asks him not to regret it. The main character watches her and thought that she was coming straight at him, and at such a distance his spear has more advantages. The girl grabs her sword tightly. She performs a blow, after which a wave of magical energy remains. She uses the Silver Moon sword blade. The protagonist dodges the girl's attack. The wave resolves the stone floor. The main character thought that the sword's aura increases the attack range. His pupils are directed at the wave and he notices that he is seeing this for the first time. Nicole makes several attacks with her sword. Several waves of energy rush towards the main character, from which he dodges. They hit the barrier and deform it. One of the spectators is surprised at what a destructive force this is. Another viewer says that as expected from a high elf, Yun Chen can only dodge. The guy with black hair also says that the elves of the Silver Moon become many times stronger over the years, and in comparison with the classless one, the winner is immediately visible. Nicole looks at the main character and says that he dodged all of her attacks. Incredible reflexes. Her eyes glow blue and she says that there is nowhere to hide on the field. Wide-range attacks are ideal. The girl's blade lengthens greatly. She tells the main character that he will not shy away from this, the full power of the Silver Moonlight. Yun Chen runs towards the girl and says that she seems to be afraid of his speed and is trying to limit it. He adds that she herself revealed her weakness by increasing the range of her attacks. The main character with a concentrated expression on his face prepares to take the blow. Nicole performs a slash using Moonlight Slash. Yun Chen dodges the girl's attack using the main sniper skill, Slippery Lunge. The elf's attack cut off some hair from the main character's head. The main character changes his weapon to a silver rank double eagle with 1 star. 2 pistols materialize in his hands, from which he immediately fires. Yun Chen bought them with money before entering the academy. He runs towards the girl. Nicole notices that the main character has dual pistols, but they are low ranking, and then wonders if he is trying to distract her or attack her. Yun Chen approached the girl and she thought it was too late to defend herself. The protagonist asks what is the point of having a large range of attacks, because as soon as the enemy gets close, you will be an easy target. He clutches a dagger in his hand and uses the basic assassin skill, cutting the throat. Nicole smiles and says that she thought that he would choose close combat. Repulsive waves emanate from the girl because she used the fury pulse of the Silver Moonlight, and the main character is repelled. The protagonist flies away from the elf. Nicole breathes heavily and holds the bow in her hand and thinks that even though this is a secret technique that takes a lot of time and can only be used once, it was worth it. She aims at Yun Chen with a bow with an energy arrow and thought that now he is trapped and will not be able to defend himself. After her attack, the main character disappeared and she thought that something had happened wrong. The protagonist placed the blade of his sword-shaped weapon on her shoulder. He asks her if she is having fun with his double. The girl clenched her teeth and asked when he had time. The main character replies that at that moment when she was focusing on the shots, because with her protection she could not allow even a single bullet to miss. With a stern expression on his face, He says that to approach her from the front, the skills of a striker would be more suitable, but he used an assassin who can easily make a clone of himself. He adds that she does not have enough experience to compete with him in tactics. The elf sits down and says in a trembling voice that she lost. The teacher raises his hand up and shouts that this is a victory, and Nicole's 15-0 credits go to Yun Chen. The spectators scream with delight. One of them says that the main character is good and all his movements are calculated in advance, and now he is his fan. Nicole, with a dissatisfied expression on her face, says that for the first time in her life she lost to someone her age. She adds that she is offended and will definitely get back at her. Xia Qingcheng says that this girl is not as good as Yun Chen, but her desire to fight is amazing and she will take it on. The guy with black hair thought that she was watching one and biting off the other. He asks Yanfu why don't they convince Yun Chen to change classes, because it's a pity that such talent has no future. The girl in a black sweater says that she agrees, because he can choose any hidden class of the academy. Yanfu closes his eyes and tells them that they shouldn't talk about it and everything depends on the main character, who will find his own unique path. The main character stands on top of the stone arena and tells the students below that he is tired of such monotonous battles and forgive him to attack with 5, 10, or even all together, because it will be troublesome for him to fight with everyone one by one. Many students take the leap. One of them calls the main character arrogant. Another says he doesn't believe he can even hold out against 2 provincial champions. A guy with black hair tied in a bun shouts to the main character that he will take away his credits. The guy in the black jacket sits down and says that they will show him his place. The main character concentrates bright energy in his hand and says flash. Students close their eyes because of the bright light. Many purple fireballs fly towards them. Fireballs explode and the students scream in pain. There is a lot of smoke around. The fireballs create a funnel in which the defeated students are located. One of the students asks the main character to stop. Another student apologizes to the main character. Yun Chen crossed his arms and said that it was quieter now. In the entire history of Jiangnan Academy, in the entire history of Xuanlong country, there has not been a student capable of resisting everyone alone. A miracle happened today. The main character stands in a stone arena, and in the foreground is a defeated student. High attribute parameters, a huge number of powerful skills. Yun Chen summons a huge flow of water, calm judgment, perfect compatibility with weapons and proven combat techniques. The protagonist dodges the attack and a crack remains in the barrier. He stands on the Blood Knight's spear and shoots fireballs at him. For an ordinary person, one of his qualities would be enough to be at the top of this world. However, Yun Chen had all of the above. When there is a gap between people, emotions such as envy, jealousy, inferiority, resentment, and so on arise. Many students made surprised faces, but when the gap is so huge, all those emotions are washed away. They are replaced by feelings of fear, admiration, and delight. The main character stands in the arena and looks at other students. You need to accept reality as it is. The student with a drop of sweat on his cheek says that he came first not only because of luck and chance. His strength is absolute. He simply could not help but become first. One of the students standing below shouts that God Yun deserves first place. Another student shouts that God Yun is so handsome and it suits him to be the best. Another student says that the results have not yet been announced, but definitely Yun Chen will be the first. One of the students asks the others what they think, who will be second. The teacher reports that they will now announce the ranking of admitted students. The teacher points to the rating screen, where the main character is in first place, Sheng Tyran is in second, Nicole is in third, and Yi Qingling is in fourth place. The teacher shows the rest of the students, among which 9th place is taken by a guy in bandages, 10th place by a guy with glasses, and 11th place by a girl with 4 braids. The main character opens the system window and sees that the task is completed and he receives a new S-rank skill, and a potion of good luck. A skill icon appears with a man shrouded in a golden aura. Skill, Invincible S+. It gives immunity to all types of attacks, as well as control for 3 seconds. An icon with a bottle of potion appears. Luck Potion. When used, the potion grants the highest luck for 24 hours. The main character smiles and thinks that the system is worried about him. He adds that the potion is excellent and will come in handy at the right time. A guy with gray hair points at the screen and shouts that Zhu Hongfeng, who was in second place, is now 26. Another student points out that this is a big difference. A man in a gray jacket points his finger at the screen and says that he saw all his battles, and at first he was defeated by Sheng Tyran, who was like a bug in front of Yun Chen. But in that battle he could be compared to the god of war. He adds that when they found out that he was not justifying his place, everyone pounced on him. The girl with brown hair laughs when she hears this and says that's who cheated, the dean was right. Ianfu stands next to the other curators and says that the competition for beginners has come to an end. And whether they are happy with the result or not, it doesn't matter, we must accept it as a fact. He adds that now they are moving to the pulpits. The old man says that his military department will teach them to kill, survive in the heat of battle, stop these very battles, and if they want to bleed and end up on the battlefield at any moment, then they should choose another department. One of the students says that undoubtedly, the military department is one of the strongest in direct attack, but it is too often sent into battle. He adds that all this is in the past, the dean has changed in the weapons department, and all this has improved the department quite well. One of the students shouts that this is the Ice Queen, Xia Qingcheng, and just the look makes him tremble. The girl stands with her eyes closed and her arms crossed. One of the students says that he heard that in the past she forgot to curb her murderous aura, which caused many students to become stunned. He adds that she also fought the Demon King and finished him off, and then asks how someone so ruthless can be a teacher. The main character looks at Xia Qingcheng and thought that in the college archives it was mentioned that she is the youngest dean in history. And although she is only 27, she has fought on the battlefield for more than 8 years. She is now rank 3rd rank, and it is rumored that she has defeated the god of war at rank 4 and killed the Demon King. The Dean girl comes closer to the partition. He asks the main character to join her weapons department. The students stand with surprised faces. One of them asks if they really started dismantling the students so quickly. Another student says that, as befits a person who has been in battle, she goes ahead. But she herself never imposed herself on the students. He wonders what's wrong this year. Ianfu laughs and tells the main character that he is the first among the students, and if he joins the military department, he will become his personal student. He adds that he will give 3 rank a skill books as a gift. Lion Hexuan tells the dean of the military department that 3 rank a skill books are somehow cheap. He will forgive Yun Chen to join his department of elementals, and he will provide a variety of potions and enchanting materials, as well as provide diamond quality equipment. The students are shocked. One of the students says that this was said by a master of magic, and among all classes, the magician class is one of the most expensive to improve. And then the dean himself, a magician of the 4th rank of God's Law, invited him to join. Another student points out that these are terribly expensive resources. He uses the money to lure Yun Chen. Ianfu looks at the magician with a gloomy look and thought that he had prepared in advance, and nevertheless, he had more money. The main character, with his eyes closed, rests his chin and thought that both offers were attractive and both chairs suited him, so it was difficult for him to choose. The protagonist suddenly opens his eyes. Ianfu says he smells something. Lion Hexuan screams that it can't be. Xia Qingcheng shows a crystal with wings that floats above her hand, and then says that it is the essence of the Demon King and asks the protagonist to follow it. A drop of sweat runs down the protagonist's cheek. He says that the essence of the Demon King is a legendary artifact of rank S++, obtained from the Rift. Nicole shouts that there is only one way to get it, and that is to remove it from the body of the Demon King. She adds that the rumors that Dean Xia killed the Demon King are true. An elf with dark hair spreads her arms to the sides and says that this is the essence of the devil, thanks to which the body improves and the number of attribute and skill points received increases up to level 70. She adds that in addition, there is a small chance of obtaining the original bloodline of the Demon King. Ianfu exhales and says that this girl is cruel. Not only the students will not refuse such an offer, but also the teachers. Lion Hexuan scratches his beard and says that the essence of the Demon King is not something that can be bought with money. The main character thought that the only reason why the academy hunts for students is their academic performance, and the higher it is, the greater the student's chance of achieving success, which will help the academy get more resources. He adds that every year there is a battle of students, and the only exception was Xia Qingcheng, who never tried to lure students to her. And in general, the reason why she left the battlefield to become a teacher is mysterious. The protagonist looks up with a serious expression on his face. He thinks that now she has chosen him and offered him something that he cannot refuse. The main character puts his hand forward and says that his choice is the weapons department. He thought there was no reason to refuse. Xia Qingcheng made a satisfied expression. The main character and Nicole are standing near the stairs that lead to the weapons department building. The elf asks the main character why he is here and whether Dean Xia also invited him. The main character answers yes. There is a short silence between them. The girl looks at the main character and thought that this is all, just one word, and why is he so cold? She wonders how she even lost to him. An elf with gray hair comes down the stairs and says that she was waiting for them, because they are both now the dean's personal students, so they need to get along in the future. She moves her hand to the side and says that now they will go to their destination. They teleport inside the department building. The main character thought that this was the treasury of Dean Zia. Yun Chen, Nicole and the department worker are in a room with many artifacts and a large skeleton of a monster. Nicole looks around and says that there are a lot of monster bones and treasures, and each one is different from each other. She adds that it looks more like a museum. The main character thinks that if this is her treasury, then all these are just her trophies. He is sure she is the strongest person he has seen, even stronger than those shown on TV. Someone with black gloves slams the book shut. It was Zia King Cheng, who notices that the students have arrived. The main character and Nicole bow and then say that they are glad to meet her. Zia King Cheng calls the dark-haired elf Katie and says that she and Nicole are both elves, so she will be the one to teach her. She tells her to take a secret natural potion from the treasury and help her so that she can feel the breath of nature. Katie replies that she understands. She smiles at Nicole and tells her to rely on her. Zia King Cheng turns to the main character and says that as far as he is concerned, he must prepare to absorb the essence of the Demon King. She materializes the essence in her hand. Streams of energy emanate from the essence of the Demon King. The main character says that before he devours, he has one question. He asks her how she obtained the essence of the Demon King and whether she really killed him. Zia King Cheng, with the essence in her hand, replies that everything is correct. She got it by defeating the Queen of the Night, and the divine alchemist purified the corpse and obtained the essence of the Demon King from it. The girl with a serious expression on her face says that little is written about demons in the books, so she will tell you in more detail, and asks to let her present the truth of this world and tell who their enemy is. Yun Chen, with a wary expression on his face, asks if their enemies are not the monsters that came with the game. Zia King Cheng says with a gloomy expression that monsters are just one of them. She adds that 70 years ago, the world merged with the game and brought many new races such as elves, dwarves, giants, demons, and so on. However, they are still just players who have chosen a different race. Their essence remains human because they were born in this world. Standing next to each other is a man with horns, an elf, and a muscular man with spikes sticking out of his shoulders. Zia King Cheng says that beyond this world, there is another world called the Dark World. She adds that the Dark World is teeming with demons that have penetrated through cosmic cracks. They are capable of causing large-scale disasters. Many dark silhouettes have red glowing eyes. They are stopped only by 4 rank classes, such as the God of War, the God of Magic, the God of Battles, and the like. The most powerful of them are called the Demon King. A purple demon with wings flies over the battlefield. The Dean says that they have practically no information. All that is known is that their strength is enormous. It is equivalent to 2 4-rank classes. Yun Chen asks how humanity knew about the method of obtaining the essence of the Demon King, since they are so powerful and mysterious. Zia King Cheng replies that the method of receiving was not discovered by people, it is a gift from heaven. She reports that the game is a divine possession, the creation of the gods, like them, people. Nowadays, you can appeal to the gods through sacrifices, in essence, bargain with them. The purple demon lies on a stone table. After the sacrifice of the demon body, the heavens respond, and this is how the method of obtaining the essence of the Demon King was obtained. A purple beam from the sky rushes straight into the demon's body. Something is formed from the orange energy on the stone table. Zia King Cheng says that in addition, by sacrificing items you can get divine medicines, new hidden classes, divine robes, skills, and everything like that. The essence of the Demon King is formed on the table. The girl adds that the essence of the Demon King is a gift from heaven. Yun Chen, with a surprised expression on his face, lists everything he has now learned: connection with the gods, sacrifices, trading. He thought that he had never heard of such a thing, not even a word about it on the internet, but it turns out that demons are man's most terrible enemy. Zia King Cheng gives the main character the essence and says that when he is ready, he must absorb this essence, and obtaining the bloodline of the Queen of the Night depends only on luck. The main character looks at the essence of the demon. Yun Chen clenches the essence in his fist and tells the dean that first he will take a rest for 1 hour. The dean closes his eyes and answers the main character that he can rest in her office. They will bring him tea and snacks. Dean's office of the weapons department. A fiery bird flies over the main character, who is sitting in a chair. The main character thought that this must be Dean Zia's contract beast. A symbol for the appraisal spell appears near his eye. The fiery bird looks at the main character. The system does not provide any information about it. Yun Chen, with a worried expression on his face, says that he cannot even recognize the name and what a huge difference in strength they have. Someone knocks on the office door and the main character allows him to enter. Two women with horns and tails enter the room with trays on which lie tea and cake. They greet the main character and ask him to let him know if anything is needed. They put the trays on the table and the main character replies that it's good. Yun Chen examines them and notices that these servants are demons and he is seeing them for the first time. A guy with black hair lies on the ground in front of a girl with a whip. The protagonist thought that all Xuanlong are equal, whether you are human or non-human. No soul contracts or unequal master-servant relationships are allowed. Of course, unless it is a monster, or a race outside of Xuanlong, or some demon from the rift. The main character puts his hand forward and tells them that they can go and rest, and he will call if they need anything. He wonders if they are truly a demonic race. The servants leave and close the door behind them. The main character thought that the essence of the Demon King was very valuable and uncontrollable. Losing the bloodline of the Queen of the Night would mean failure. He takes out a good luck potion with the intention of trying it. Yun Chen drinks the green liquid from the vessel. The main character looks at his hands and says that there are no changes, as if he drank ordinary water. He adds that the potion is effective for 24 hours and he will wait until it is absorbed. 1 hour passes. The essence of the Demon King floats above the protagonist's hand. Xia Qingcheng leans on her desk and says that the essence of the Demon King is extremely strong and it will take a lot of strength to absorb it. And this is not the most pleasant process, so she will keep an eye on everything. The main character looks at the entity and says that it is clear. He squeezes the crystal with the essence and it turns into liquid. The main character screams in pain as the liquid is absorbed into him through his eyes. He thought that he was in pain and his body was being torn apart. The protagonist falls, and the dean catches him and tells him to hold on, because there are no easy paths in the world, and if he wants to take possession of this power, then he needs to overpower it. Xia Qingcheng sits on the main character. She concentrates blue energy in her hand and says that she can only reduce a small part of the pain, otherwise all the power will dissipate. She directs energy into the main character. Someone opens the door to the office. Katie, with two servants behind her, opens the door and says that Nicole is doing great, after which there is a short silence. The elf with a shocked expression on her face apologizes for the disturbance and adds that she will leave immediately. The demons are also shocked. The main character with a frightened expression on his face tells them that they didn't understand everything. The girl tells the main character not to worry and suggests focusing. From the center of the main character's chest comes a green magical power. This is Super Self-Healing S+. Yun Chen looks at his hand and thought that self-healing had activated itself. He asks if it really doesn't hurt anymore. Xia Qingcheng stands up and asks if this is all. The main character thought that he didn't think that the essence of the Demon King had gone to waste. He tells the girl that everything is finished and opens the system window. In the system window with attributes, he sees that the number of attributes has increased significantly. Xia Qingcheng raises his index finger and says that the Queen of the Night has 2 innate talents. These are Eyes of the Night and Darkness. She asks if the protagonist received at least one of them. The main character turns around and the girl sees that the main character's eye has turned black and yellow. The guy says that he seems to have acquired both skills. The main character looks at her with his black and yellow eyes and says that they are of low rank. System notifications appear describing the skills. Eyes of the Night B+ is a pupil technique that allows you to see what is hidden from prying eyes. Darkness C allows you to increase all attributes and skills in darkness. Xia Qingcheng crossed her arms and asked if it was both, because no one had absorbed the essence so perfectly before, and his body and talent exceeded all expectations. The main character smiles and puts his hand on his cheek, and then says that it's just luck. He thought that it looked like the luck potion had actually worked. The dean says that often new talents are of low rank. In perfect condition, the talents of the Queen of the Night are S+ rank, so they will grow with him. The main character thanks the dean with a joyful expression on his face. He thought that although she seemed withdrawn and distant, she was trying to take care of him, and he should repay her kindly for this. The dean with a smile on his face tells the main character that from now on he can call her a teacher and asks him not to rejoice too much, because once a month she will test him and he will be punished if he fails. The main character agrees with a joyful expression on his face, calling the girl Zia's teacher. Someone screams from the dark space of the cave. A silhouette in red clothes walks deeper into the room. A dark silhouette with red eyes asks how some pathetic person dared to appropriate the power of the Queen of the Night. The red-robed figure addresses the silhouette as omnipotent and tells it to be confident in pulverizing it. Under the hood is someone with a scar near his mouth. There is a lot of smoke coming from the monster's hand. The smoke clears and the crystal is now visible in his hand. All Might tells the guy that if he does this, the essence of the god of war will reward him. The next day, hostel. The main character stands in the middle of the kitchen with a plate. He throws the plate forward. The main character's eyes turn black and yellow. He tells the saucer to stop, after which the saucer stops flying. The protagonist says that the eyes of the knight actually stopped the plate in the air. He prepares to catch the plate and says that according to the teacher, the eyes of the knight of S+ rank can stop all space and seal anything. He adds that they are much stronger than other S+ rank talents. He catches the plate and says that, but again, even such a powerful queen of the night fell at the hands of teacher Zia. He wonders how strong she is. The main character walks through a busy square among the trees. The demon servants are watching Yun Chen. The girl with blue hair says that it looks like he is going to class. The girl with green hair says that in the future, he may become their master. The main character waves his hand at the girls and says that yesterday was just a misunderstanding, and they are not in such a relationship with teacher Zia. The girls run away. The blue-haired servant shouts that they won't tell anyone. A servant with green hair shouts that they understand that they must remain silent. The protagonist, with an alarmed expression on his face, thought that the good luck potion was still working, but this misunderstanding was not dispelled. The black hair guy and the purple hair girl are wondering who teacher Zia is. In the system interface above the health level, it is written that the main character is very lucky. He holds a bag of money in his hands and is happy that he found it. The girl's skirts are lifted by the wind right in front of Yun Chen. He thought that everything was fine, it was not evil. The guy at the checkout tells the main character that he congratulates him on becoming the 10,000th customer, so today's dishes are free for him. The main character with reddened cheeks says that this luck potion is a little scary and we need to find a worthy use for it. Yun Chen thought that he would finish his daily task first. The treadmill screen has reached 10 of 10 kilometers. A system window appears in front of the protagonist and he thought that every day, the first 2 rewards remain unchanged, and the third one changes randomly and now the luck potion is affecting him. Therefore, the third reward will be the most suitable for him. The guy receives a choice of one of 3 rewards, 10 attribute points, 10 skill points, random enchantment material. He selects a random material to enchant. An object appears in the form of a red drop. The system congratulates the main character for receiving the enchantment material, Burning Dragon Blood S. Burning Dragon's blood, spilled blood of a high dragon that, when used, can add additional Intimidate or Dragon Slayer effects to equipment. The protagonist smiles and thought that this is one of the best materials for enchanting, and if he wants to get the most out of the luck potion, then he should use it. The teacher in the office announces that the lesson is over and he hopes that they will maintain their ambitions and aspirations until the end of their studies and will not stop and become stronger. The main character quickly leaves the office and Nicole, looking at him, wonders how strange it is that he is in such a hurry to get somewhere. Yun Chen walks down the corridor and Nicole follows him. The girl touches her cheek and thinks that she unknowingly followed him, and then wonders if her curiosity is really that great. She adds that she is like a stalker. The elf blushed and thought that no, she was just watching her opponent and if she wanted to win, she should find out more about him, because she didn't want to lose. She watches him carefully and wonders what's wrong with him, because he looks better every time, and by a lucky chance he sits in the class next to her. Nicole rests her chin and thought that after taking a closer look at him, she realized that he turned out to be the one, and his appearance and character were ideal. She adds that she was so engrossed in him that she didn't pay attention to the lesson. Hall of Enchantment. Many people are in a hall with a small hill in the middle, on which a symbol is drawn. Nicole asks the main character if he wants to enchant something. Then she thought that she didn't even notice how she started the conversation. The main character replies that everything is correct. The elf thought that enchantment was an exciting thing. It could turn into heaven or hell. The sword is shrouded in a golden aura. The girl thought that if she succeeds in strengthening, a star will be added to the equipment, and its attributes will increase unimaginably. But if the enhancement fails, then the equipment will lose a star or may even be destroyed. It all depends on luck. The sword breaks into small pieces. The main character tells the cashier that he wants to buy materials. The girl with brown hair at the cash register replies that they have all kinds of materials, but you can only buy them with credits. The main character selects the materials he needs in the store's interface and says that he will buy it all. The cashier says that the selected materials are at a 30% discount, so the main character gets 3,100 credits, and you can pay with a student card. The main character places the card on the payment terminal, and Nicole, watching this, thought that he spent 3,000 credits without blinking. The cashier hands over boxes of materials to the main character and asks if he would like to rent a sorcerer, because with them the chance of success increases, but the higher the level of the sorcerer, the more expensive the rent. Yan Chen refuses and says that he will do everything himself. The main character places his spear and materials on the enchanting table. He puts his hand on the table and says that he begins the enchantment. A stream of violet energy rushes into the materials. All materials form one item. The system informs that the enhancement was successful, and the demonic destroyer receives +5 to strength, +5 to wisdom, as well as new attributes in the form of an increase in physical and magical damage by 5%. The system asks whether to continue the enchantment. The main character decides to continue. Another violet beam rushes into objects. The light is even brighter than last time. A guy with black hair covers his face with his hand and asks why there is such a bright light, and who is enchanting there. A man with his hair tied in a bun says that someone is enhancing the item to 7 stars and it works. Demonic Destroyer now has 7 stars. He receives a +40 increase in strength and wisdom, and magical and physical damage is increased by 25%. The item is shrouded in a purple aura. With a surprised look, Nicole thought that he had pulled it off without any tricks, just throwing materials and enchanting. The guy with black hair tied in a bun crosses his arms and says that this is too much, and from 6 to 7 stars the chance of success is only 5%, and then calls the main character the chosen one. The guy in a blue robe asks who this guy is and notes that judging by his appearance, he is a freshman. A guy with black hair asks if he has the courage to go to 8 stars. Nicole puts her hand on the main character's shoulder and tells him not to do this, because from 7 to 8 stars the chance is only 1%. And 7 stars is already strong enough, and it is better to stop. The elf thought that he couldn't continue to be so lucky. The main character commands the system to continue enchanting. A huge multicolored beam shoots straight at the enchanting table. Nicole shouts what has started and thought that if successful, the characteristics of the weapon will be doubled, and a new special attribute will be added. But the success rate is too low, and his equipment will explode. The guy in the orange robe shouts that if he succeeds, then his weapon will become the most powerful golden weapon within the walls of the academy, and then says that he does not believe that he will be lucky. A guy with black hair wants things to explode. A golden sprout appears on the table. According to the system, the demonic destroyer has successfully increased to 8 stars and now gives +80 to strength and wisdom. New attributes: increase physical and magical damage by 45%. New skills: Intimidation, Dragon Slayer. Intimidation: when the enemy is a dragon or dragon-like creature, all of its attributes are reduced by 15%. Dragon Slayer: damage increases by 35% against dragons or dragon-like creatures. Nicole closes her mouth in surprise and wonders whether these are the characteristics of a golden weapon, and adds that even a diamond weapon is not even close to it. He adds that even more amazingly, he came all this way without using any skills, but just walked ahead, which is terrifying luck. Yan Chen takes the spear and says that it has good characteristics and everything happened without a single loss of materials. He adds that he will return back because there is nothing else to do. Someone shouts to the main character to stop, after which the guy turns around towards the sound. The angry muscle guy asks what the hell is luck, and then asks the main character to sell him his weapon, because he will pay 30% more than the market price. The protagonist points the spear down and asks what will happen if he refuses. Opposite the main character is a muscular man. The guy with brown hair tells the other students that this guy must be a newbie for daring Ling Lei. The student with the design on the black t-shirt put his hands on his belt and says that Brother Lei has a hot temper, and he himself is on the student council, and also says that it is better to remain silent about his dragon blood. He adds that although the rules of the academy prohibit fighting outside the arena, he encountered the wrong person. Crossing Ling Lei's path is not the best idea. Nicole props her chin and looks at the students with a smile and says that it would be better if they prayed for Ling Lei. She adds that this fool probably hasn't seen the first year fights, so they don't know anything about Yan Chen, and even if they attack in droves, they won't be able to defeat him. Ling Lei calls the main character and tells him that he has an addition to that proposal. He asks the main character to give up the weapon in exchange for friendship, because this is the most powerful weapon within the walls of the academy, and only he deserves it. Yan Chen will hit the floor with the back of his spear, causing a crack to appear there. The main character asks him what he said, and a golden aura and streams of energy emanate from the spear. He used an additional weapon effect, Intimidate. The villain, with a surprised expression on his face, asks what kind of weapon this is. He thought why fear appeared in his heart, which is impossible, because he is a hybrid of a human and a dragon, and they are fearless. The main character walks towards Ling Lei, says what that means, he doesn't deserve this weapon, and asks that since he doesn't sell it, that means they are enemies. The scoundrel trembles and thinks that the closer the main character is, the more his dragon blood boils. He asks what is happening. He falls to the ground and says no a couple of times. He covers himself with his hands and tells Yun Chen not to come near him, because students are forbidden to fight with each other, and violence is evil and they must renounce such old principles. The students look at Ling Lei with shocked expressions. The protagonist holds the spear on his shoulder and tells his opponent that he can do whatever he wants because he is taking his time. He thought that there was still a little time left until the end of the good luck potion and he should hurry up. Nicole runs after the main character and asks him to wait for her. One of the students with gray hair says that the protagonist scared Ling Lei so much that he used the rules. The guy with black hair asks who this guy is. Nicole, with a smile on her face, runs after the main character and asks him to tell her how she managed to enchant up to 8 stars on the first try, and then asks if today is his lucky day. Yun Chen tells the girl that they will talk later as he is in a hurry. Library. The main character sits at the table with Nicole and reads a book. The elf says that she doesn't believe that he was in such a hurry to read the book. The main character takes another scroll and thought that as admission conditions, he was allowed to use any skill books from the library. But even so, it was difficult to find a suitable book in this sea of knowledge. He adds that now, with the luck potion, whatever he pokes at will be a good book. The main character opens his eyes wide. On the red scroll in his left hand it says that the hidden class is Shadowstream Spike. On the green scroll in his right hand it is written that this is a book of basic druid skills. The main character opens the green scroll and thought that although he studied the basic skills of the druids, his knowledge was incomplete since the college was limited in information. He adds that skills such as tracking are only available in academies. A notification appears that you have acquired the Tracking B+ skill, thanks to which you can quickly track a target by seeing its tracks. Yun Chen opens the red scroll and thought that in most cases, the Shadow Stream Thorn skills are more effective than the Assassin skills. He adds that he can be seen as an improved version of the Assassin with his own specific base skills. System notifications appear. The main character receives the Shadow Escape skill B+, thanks to which the body goes into the shadows, maintaining the ability to move with a speed increase bonus of 35%, and the duration is 1.5 seconds. The protagonist also receives the Shadow Stealing B+ skill, thanks to which a random or selected item, buff, equipment, attribute and skills can be stolen from the target. The success rate of a theft is determined by the difference in attributes. The guy thought that Shadow Escape was very similar to Sheng Tyron's blood movements and would be very useful. He adds that stealing shadow is also not bad, because you can disarm the enemy or remove the mage's shield. He puts the scroll on the table and says that he has almost completely learned the skills, so he needs to speed up and move on to the next point. The main character and Nicole walk among many cages with animals. A bald man with a mustache asks the main character if he has come to choose a pet, and then says that they have flying, swimming and walking on the ground, but you can only buy them with credits. The main character points his finger at the little griffin and says that he will take this one. He adds that this pet was looking at him from the very entrance to this zoo, and with his luck, this is the best choice. Nicole points her finger at the griffin and says that he chose the thinnest one, and he looks very weak. The bald man turns his head and says that he agrees, because no one has bought it for 3 months and they were going to get rid of it. He adds that if the main character wants, he can only pay for food, which will cost 100 credits. The main character throws super supplements into the cage for 18 credits and says that he wants it. The griffin catches the bottle with the additive. He drinks the entire contents of the bottle. The griffin quickly grows and stands on its hind legs. Nicole says that it was a mutated griffin and asks the main character how he knew. The main character replies that he was just lucky. The bald seller cries and thinks how he missed it, because this is such a loss. Yun Chen pets the griffin and tells him that from now on he will be his animal. He adds that the griffin looks naive and will therefore call him Ohen. Nicole thought it was a terrible name for rare mutated griffins. The main character and Nicole sit on the griffin, after which the guy commands him to take off. He thought that the luck potion would last a little longer and he needed to be even faster. Jiangnan Academy, training base for summoned animals, plant warehouse. The main character and the elf follow the gardener in a vest. There are many different plants around them. The gardener turns around and asks what grade of plant they want and adds that they have everything from black iron to diamond. Yun Chen asks to be allowed to see for himself. He thought that it was already late, so only the plant warehouse was open, and fortunately, he understood the skills of a druid, so a summoned plant type animal would be perfect. He looks at the smiling purple plant and thinks that his talent greatly increases the power of the class's basic skills. But there is one exception, and that is the summoning skills. Among the plants here, there is a silver rank red carnivorous flower. There is a purple eye glowing in the small tree. It is a gold rank shadow tree. A diamond rank fire cactus causes fire to appear on its branch. Yun Chen looks around and thought that the power of summoners is enormous, but it depends on the creature being summoned, and he only has a contract with simple water elementals. He adds that the limit of the water elemental is too low, and at this stage, it will not fit even under the meat shield, and nevertheless, the rank of the summoned creature should not be too high, because it is still not a pure summoner. The main character hears someone making cute sounds. This is a small thorn fairy with green hair in a pot. The main character props up his chin and says that despite her small size, she looks lively. According to the information from the system, she is a gold rank thorn fairy. The main character notices that all the other thorn fairies are diamond rank, and for some reason she is gold. The gardener crossed his arms and closed his eyes, and then says that her innate abilities are not that good, and she is also weak and gluttonous. He adds that thorn fairies are very delicate, so to raise them, you need to feed them well, thereby the price and quality are low, and the demand is small. Nicole, with a smile on her face, tells the main character to buy something more practical and strong than to grow it. Yun Chen smiles and says he will take it. He thought that he was not a full-fledged summoner, so he did not have the advanced contract skill, and therefore even with the B rank basic contract skill, his limit was gold rank. He adds that this baby is perfect and he can enter into a contract with her and develop her. The protagonist turns to the gardener and tells him that he is taking her, so he asks him to add a pot on top and food for her for 3 months. The merchant counts all purchases and says that the main character has 38 O credits. The main character, with pots in hand, along with Nicole and the griffin, walk along the night street. The elf asks the main character if they can talk. Yun Chen, with a dissatisfied expression on his face, asks the girl how long she plans to pursue him. The elf replies that she is not pursuing her. The main character asks her to explain what's going on. Nicole, with an embarrassed expression on her face, asks the main character if he can borrow 15 O credits, because he took all her credits. Yun Chen hands her his student ID and she makes a surprised expression on her face. She opened her mouth wide and beads of sweat ran down her cheeks. She thought that this was too much, because the whole day had passed, and there were more than 8,000 credits left. She asks how many people he robbed. The main character walks further down the street with the griffin and says that it's already late, and he went to the hostel, so she'll figure it out on her own. The girl looks at the student's card and thanks the main character with a smile on her face, and then says that she will definitely return everything within a crescent month. She thought that he was quite kind, although cold. 3 months later, the office of the dean of the military department. Yanfu sits at his desk and asks teacher Li, who is standing in front of him, how the freshmen are doing. Li, with a smile on his face, says that just like in the past, everyone is on their own and they are all the best students of their provinces, so no one obeys anyone. Yanfu says that it is good when there are worthy competitors, and then asks how Yun Chen is doing. The main character hits the training dummies with daggers and Li says that he works out a lot, training with the skills of different classes. She adds that from the dagger to the sniper rifle, he scores high in all respects. The main character shoots with a sniper rifle. The girl says that nevertheless, the protagonist is the loneliest of all. She adds that except for occasional meetings with Nicole, he has no contact with any students and he is completely alone. Yanfu says that, alas, like other academies, the best students are always alone, but every student must visit the battlefield at least once, and without communication skills they cannot cope. Li replies that she agrees, which is why their country holds a national freshman exchange competition every year, the main goal of which is to strengthen ties. The old man put his hands together and said that, as last year showed, it will be necessary to gather a group of freshmen and make a list of the 20 best students. Archery training ground. The main character, Katie and Nicole, are standing next to each other. Katie announces that the bow and arrow test has begun, after which the protagonist and Nicole jump away. Nicole shoots the main character with 3 natural arrows. Yun Chen pushes off the ground. He aims at the girl and uses the main archer skill, drawing arrows. He fires 2 arrows using the archer's main skill, Hound Arrows B+. The elf was hiding behind a tree and thought that the main character's counterattack was too fast. The arrow hits the tree. It is embedded inside the tree. The arrowhead comes out of the back of the tree above Nicole's head and she exclaims that she gives up. Students gather around the main character. One of the students shouts that as expected from Yun Chen, he defeated Nicole using only basic archery skills. Another student notices that the elf of the Silver Moon, who wields swords and bows masterfully, lost. Another student says that he heard that the main character takes first place and is a real all-rounder because even with the most complex sniper rifle he beats everyone. Nicole puts her hand on the back of her head and says that when they first started testing the bow and arrows, she could have been bullied about winning, but only 3 months have passed and she no longer has a chance of winning. Yun Chen with a dissatisfied expression on his face says that then they agreed that the loser gets the treat and he fed her almost every day. And now it's her turn to feed him. The girl turns away and says that many guys invite her to have dinner with her, but he is not happy about the chance she gave. Katie walks up to them and tells the main character and the girl to go to the training hall as Dean Yanfu wants to see them. The main character agrees with her. Yun Chen looked warily and thought that in addition to the fact that Yanfu is the dean of the military department, he is also the deputy rector. Jiangnan Academy Training Hall. Many people are standing in this spacious hall. The guy with 2 swords on his back tells the guy with a bandage on his nose that enough time has passed since the beginners competition and again the first 20 students have gathered together. He asks him why he thinks the dean called them here. The guy with the bandage on his nose replies that he thinks it's all because of the national student exchange that takes place every year. He adds that in a team competition it turns out that so many participants are needed. The main character asks what kind of student exchange is this. Nicole throws up her hands and tells the protagonist that he hasn't heard anything about this at all and is surprised at what a loner he is. She recommends that he try to make more connections and that way he will be aware. A man with a cup stands at the top of the pedestal. The elf says that Miss Katie told her that the student exchange is a national competition in which all academies in the country will take part. Many people stand with banners of different colors. The girl adds that in the previous year, the competition was divided into 2 stages, individual and team fights, based on the results of which the top 7 academies will be selected. He reports that their academy has won this competition for 3 years in a row. Nicole raises her index finger up and says that there is information that survival fights will appear this year, and she doesn't know exactly how it will be implemented. The main character crosses his arms and replies that everything is clear to him. A system message appears stating that a national freshman exchange competition has been detected and the main character will be given a new task. According to the task description, the main character needs to participate in the freshman exchange competition and win it. Reward for completion, 5+ functional level, 50 attribute points, 50 skill points. The main character thought that it was time for a task. It was worth taking part in this competition. Yanfu and Lee take the elevator downstairs. Yanfu with a smile on his face says that everyone guesses the purpose of his visit. He says that this year's freshman exchange competition will be held by Jiangnan Academy, so he will personally take charge of organizing it as deputy director. Nicole raises her hand and asks why there are 20 people here, because the team competition requires 7. The dean replies that this time there will be a survival stage, which requires 20 people. He adds that in a large area, the entire 20 will be scattered in different places, and they need to earn points by finding rare resources and killing monsters. Among the ruins there are walking and flying monsters. The old man says that the points are summed up and the winner will be determined by them. He adds that since this is a survival stage, the conditions inside will be harsh and they will have to beware not only of monsters, but also people from other academies. A guy in a jacket with a white stripe with a dissatisfied expression on his face asks why they suddenly added a new stage. Because this will radically change the competition. The guy in the orange hood says that the previous 3 competitions, their academy won, and if they fail, then hell awaits them. A guy with black hair holds his forehead with his hand and says that he can already imagine how senior and junior students make fun of them. He adds that fortunately Yun Chen is with them, who will definitely take first place in individual battles. Yanfu says as for the team captain, this time it will be Yun Chen, because they have a rule that the first place becomes the leader of the group. All students are happy about this news. Kingling says that since Yun Chen is the captain, who dares to disagree? The guy in the black jacket says that he will definitely defeat all opponents. Sheng Tyran is simply silent. The dean rubs his beard and says that only 3 people can participate in individual fights, so it's worth giving these places to Yun Chen, Sheng Tyran, and Nicole. He wants to say something that concerns the 7 people in the team competition, but stops his speech. The old man looks at the main character and thought that it's not easy to choose here, because firstly, Yun Chen as a captain is not the best candidate. He fights mostly alone, so it will be difficult for the team to fight together. He adds that classless is still questionable, and he still doesn't understand whether he is better at melee, ranged, control or damage, as well as how to choose ideal teammates. Yanfu thought that in terms of effectiveness, Yun Chi is strong in a short, complex confrontation, but Nicole, Sheng Tyron, Lin Yushui, who come after Yun Chen, are also melee fighters. The dean looks first at the elf, then at the blood knight, then at Yi Qingling, and lastly at the guy with the spiked vest, Lin Yushui. He adds that he cannot send a melee team, otherwise they will become cannon fodder. The main character approaches the dean and raises his hand. He says that he has a proposal for a team match, and then asks if he can choose his teammates. Yanfu tells him that since he is the center of the group, it is better for him to know who is suitable. He hands the dean in his office the list of participants from Yun Chen. The list includes Yun Chen, Blood Knight Sheng Tyron, Elven Swordsman Nicole, Taoist Yi Qingling, Magic Swordsman Lin Yushui, and Summoner Sun Can. The old man hits the table with the list and shouts what a strange command this is. He notes that not counting Yun Chen, there are 3 melee classes, 1 summoner, 1 Taoist, and 1 assassin. He says that the team consists only of those who deal damage, and he has no idea what tactics can be invented with this composition. The old man shouts that for 3 years their academy has won team battles only thanks to a team that included 2 melee tanks, 2 mages with massive damage, 1 healer, and 2 melee fighters. He adds that 2212 is the ideal team for consistent control and damage. The old man imagines a diagram with the location of the fighters in the team. He adds that there is a whole bias towards damage and they will quickly be demolished because there are no magicians. He wonders what the main character was thinking when he put together this team. Lee puts his hand on the back of his head and says that they still don't know all the features of the classless and maybe this is his unique plan. She asks whether to still impose a ban on the team. The old man says that this is not necessary and they can test everyone. The dean orders the teacher to quickly organize everything. Fitness room. The students are discussing the team list and it seems strange to them. Nicole tells the main character that 2212 is the best choice because in their academy they prefer him, and in practice he shows decent results. The main character crossed his arms and said that this was his personal decision. Someone comes into the hall and asks what is going on and where is this Yun Chen, and also if he can talk to him. He adds that he assembled a poor team, because how can you go without magicians? A man with bandages on his wrists enters the hall, and says that his name is Wai Yui, and now he is their instructor and in the previous student exchange it was he who helped them take first place in the team stage. He adds that he can say with confidence that the current team is useless, it is extremely lacking in magical power, and there must be at least 1 magician in the composition or the whole team will fail. The instructor nudged the man who was walking behind him and offered to put Zhu Hongfeng on the team, because he is the strongest magician among the freshmen, the best addition to the team. Lin Yushui points his finger at this guy and shouts that he cheated in the beginner competition, because he was demoted from 2nd place to 26th. He asks Wai Yui if he really wants to join him just because of magic. Lin Yushui, Magic Swordsman, 5th place. The guy in the orange sweater shouts that he heard that the Zhu Hongfeng family is very rich, and then asks how much he paid him to offer this. The main character crossed his arms and with a gloomy expression on his face, what would happen if he did not accept it? The instructor puts his hand on his belt and asks the main character if he wants to. He puts on an angry expression and says that he is an instructor and he has the right to command them, which means that if he says that he will join the team, then he will join. The guy with black hair clenches his fist and calls the instructor a scoundrel, saying that they worked so hard to get into the rankings and why would they let some loser participate with them, because Yun Chen is much better than him in magic. Another student shouts that they don't need such a magician. Zhu Hongfeng hits the floor with his staff. He shouts with an angry expression on his face that he has dropped down the rankings only because of poor form, and if they doubt him, then they can arrange a competition, and then they will check how easy it is to get into the top 10. Nicole says that this staff is at least diamond rank. Lin Yushui with a dissatisfied expression says that he once heard that the Zhu family is one of the 8 Jiangnan families, and if this is true, then they have enough money, because what kind of student can afford a diamond rank staff? Wai Yui spread his arms to the sides and commanded to immediately kick out 1 person from the team and make room for Zhu Hongfeng, because he is the owner of 2 rank talents, as well as a skilled destruction magician. Yun Chen says that he is too vindictive and arrogant, and if he doesn't like it, then he needs to gather his team and try to defeat them, and if they lose, then the decision is his. The instructor laughs and asks the main character if he really wants a team fight with the champion of last year. He calls the main character arrogant and adds that in 3 hours he is waiting for him in the arena. The students discuss the team match and go to watch it in the arena. Students cheer on the main character. One of the students sees a guy in a purple robe and asks why Yui has a second year on the team. Another student says that he remembers him because he participated in the competition last year. This is Kyan Ruokong. The sophomore says he did not expect such a result. The instructor crossed his arms and said that the rules say nothing about second-year students, but if they do it quickly, they will be given a lot of money. Yui looks at Zhu Hongfeng and thought that his brother ordered to win at any cost so as not to lose face in front of the Zhu family. He adds that if he can establish contacts with the Zhu family, then a bright future is guaranteed. Yikingling, Taoist, 4th place. She asks the main character if he is sure that they do not need tactics. The guy is wearing a white jacket with a hood and says that they are competing against the 2 previous champions, which is why he is a little scared. Song Kan, Summoner, 7th place. The man in the mask props his chin and says that they chose 2212. It will be difficult to break through the first row. Duo Facial, Shadow Stream Thorn, 9th place. The Blood Knight says that he can take a frontal attack and also escape at the right time. He asks the main character to give him orders. Sheng Tyron, Blood Knight, 2nd place. The main character with a spear in his hand stands in front of his comrades and says that there is no need to plan or command anything, because they need to do exactly what they are capable of. Yun Chen, Classless, 1st place. Nicole with a smile on her face says what they are afraid of, because there are 4 provincial champions on their team, so they will crush them with their power. Nicole, Elven Swordswoman, 3rd place. The guy in the spiked vest punches his palm and laughs, and then says that since they are a team, he will believe in Yun Chen, and if they win, they will celebrate together, and if they lose, they will suffer together. Lin Yushui, Magic Swordsman, 5th place. Li raises his hand and tells everyone to get ready. She didn't think it would grow to this extent, but this is a great opportunity to see Yun Chen on the team. She adds that if they win, the dean will accept the team. The teacher announces the start of the duel. The main character's team attacks, and the instructor orders his people to line up. He orders the tanks to stand in front and block attacks, and the healer to heal them as necessary. He smiles and thought that the main character's team rushed forward so much, and then calls them a bunch of reckless kids who forgot about the back flank. He wonders if they really want to just break through 2 healed tanks, and then says that it's impossible. Yikingling shouts to her team to slow down, because she does not have enough speed, and asks her to at least strengthen them, because her talisman does not have enough range. The instructor stands behind the tanks and thought that he was worried about this Taoist, because he is a complete replacement for the priest, who can also control the power output, a universal class. He adds that for now these 4 fools are completely useless. Yui turns back and commands Zhu Hongfeng to put his strength into explosive magic, and tells the other mage to attack with small attacks to disrupt the opponent's rhythm. He commands Giant Ruokong to prepare to summon the monsters as soon as they are within 10 meters of them so that the encirclement can be carried out. He thought that since these 4 madmen rushed at them, let them taste the taste of despair. Many fireballs fly towards the instructor's team. Yui wonders where there are so many fireballs and who is sending them so quickly. He orders the tanks to move closer to them. They create 2 barriers of blue energy. The fireballs hit the first barrier. The main character runs at them and says that expanding the protection zone means weakening direct protection, so they won't stop him anymore. The priest shouts to the main character that he will not approach them and uses the divine holy barrier. The priest is surprised and opens his eyes wide. The priest is covered in the vines of the main character, and wonders when he managed to do it and whether those fireballs deliberately reduce the view. The main character hits the tank with a spear into the shield, using the main skill of a spearman, thrust. The tank flies far back due to the strong impact. Another tank notices that the main character's strength is too high, and in order to defend against him, you need to use all your strength. He uses the shield bash skill, after which his shield is enveloped in blue energy. Yun Chen thrusts his spear into the ground. He kicks the tank using the Taoist's main skill, Dancing Pole. Zhu Hongfeng shouts to the main character that he cannot defend himself in the air, and uses the Blazing Sun Explosion. Another mage uses 7 ice blocks. The main character transforms his weapon into a staff. He uses Fireball along with Quick Spell and Double Spell, causing multiple fireballs to be thrown at the enemy at once. The attacks of the main character and enemies clashed. Burning Zhu Hongfeng shouts that his scorching sun blast can't stop the fireball, and how is that possible? The main character transforms his weapon into a long sword. He attacks the tank in the back using the main sword skill, Silver Falling Blade. Yan Chen lands on the ground. The audience admires how the main character neutralizes his enemies. The protagonist's allies slowly walk towards the enemy. Lin Yushui says that it seems that their help is not needed. Duo Fashel says that not really. Although the tanks and magicians are wounded, they still have enough strength to resist. Shang Tyran offers to go and clear out the others. Song Kan, with a drop of sweat running down his cheek, says that for some reason it seems to him that they are useless. Yi Qingling says with a dissatisfied expression that they are among the top 10 freshmen, and it is a little disappointing that they do nothing. Yan Chen dashes towards enemies using the main sword skill, Speed. The instructor turns back and asks Jian Ruokong to quickly summon the monsters because he needs to protect the priest. The summoner casts a spell, green energy emanates from his staff. Huge snakes and a lion appear on the battlefield. The main character stands opposite them and says that he is also good at it. 3 summoned monsters stand in front of the enemy team. According to the system description, these are 2 two-headed snakes of level 22 in platinum quality, as well as a red-hot lion of level 24 of platinum quality. The viewer in the white t-shirt notices that everything is above level 20 and they have platinum quality. The guy with black hair says that a summoner with such strength would be considered first class even among second years. The guy in the hat says that he deserves to be a member of the previous champion team. The instructor laughs and tells the main character that he was not ready, and therefore took over. But what will he say now when any of the animals can defeat their team alone, let alone 3? Jian Ruokong asks him to shut up and thought that this fool hasn't understood anything yet. He looks at the main character and thought that his animals do not dare to attack, because their strength is in a completely different weight class. The main character asks them if they will really stand like this. He says with a confident look that then he will start first. He leaps onto the lion and uses the spearman's main skill, Swing. The lion blocks the attack with its paw. The main character tells him that it is not for nothing that he is so big, because he has a lot of brute strength. A snake with an open mouth attacks the main character. The protagonist kicks her with his foot. The main character makes many attacks on monsters. Jian Ruokong asks them to stop fighting. With an upset expression on his face, he calls their names, Big Fire, Elder Gray, Younger Gray. He made a very angry expression on his face and shouts that he demands revenge, since the purpose of the team stage is to develop tactics and strengthen cooperation, so he will not accept this. The main character lands on the ground and asks who said that he has no plan and asks the guys to show what they can do. A dark silhouette emerges from the shadow of the main character. Duo Fashel comes out of the shadow of the main character and makes a dash towards the enemy, and then says that he has been hiding in the shadow of Yan Chen for a long time. He throws a hook on a chain at the priest and says that he will finish everything quickly. The hook flies towards the enemy. Wei Yui deflects the hook with her sword and tells them not to even try to attack the healer. A drop of blood appears behind his back. Shang Tyran materializes there and uses Blood Move. He makes a piercing blow using the Bloody Spike skill, and the instructor flies away from the force of the blow. The enemy summoner gritted his teeth. Orange energy comes out of his eyes and he shouts that he will fight the main character, so he orders his animals to go into berserk mode. 2 arrows hit him and he screams that he is in pain. He wonders why he can't use the skills. Nicole says that as an elf, she just needs to shoot with a bow. Lin Yushui concentrates the purple energy in his hand and says that this is the first time he has linked the forbidden curse to someone else's weapon. The effect is quite good. A 2-headed snake falls to the ground next to the enemy summoner. The main character approaches him, leaving the defeated monsters behind. With a thoughtful look, he says how he should beat these summoned creatures and maybe it's worth blowing them up with something that will give a little experience. Jian Ruokong sits on his knees and says that he gives up and asks the main character to stop, because his pets are afraid of pain, and they are his closest partners. He adds that he will compensate for everything and apologizes. The main character tells him to forget about it, because he gave up one way or another and it doesn't matter to him whether the monsters are killed or not. A powerful explosion occurs, creating a cloud of smoke. Wei Yui asks if the battle is over. His skin turns red and he tells the main character not to be so arrogant, and also calls him a little tomboy. He is engulfed in a blue beam due to the silver flash spell. Nicole, with a sword in her hand, asks the instructor if he is sure that he is worthy of challenging the main character. Lee stands in front of Yi Anfu and says that in that fight, they crushed him with pure force without using tactics and yet he won. The dean replies that many of the country's leading academies are participating in the competition, and without tactics, you won't get far on pure strength. He asks her if she asked Yun-Chen about his plans. The girl replies that she asked, and he replied that their academy has one with formation 2212 for the 3rd year already. The enemies will definitely find weaknesses or take advantage of the same formation. And besides, this year's freshmen are not so good at formations, which will greatly weaken them. So in this case, know whether it will be easier to reveal the strengths of the best students. Yanfu says that it is difficult for him to agree with the facts he presented, but he also cannot deny. He adds that if so, let it be as the one who leads everyone to victory decides. The main character is sitting on a green sofa and talking on the phone with his sister. Yun-Tiang laughs and tells her brother that she will definitely get a good grade in the entrance exam and maybe she will get into one of the best high schools in the province. She reports that she recently heard from her classmates that Donghyun is an enclave. The main character thought that it would be better if she passed the entrance exams well, so he could take care of her here. Someone knocks on the main character's door and he says that he is rejecting the call because someone has come. He hangs up the call. The demon servants enter the protagonist's room and greet him. The girl with blue hair tells the main character that they came on the orders of the mistress to inform him that he will have a special lesson. All other subjects have been cancelled. The main character says that he understands and is already on his way. He thought that it was somehow too unexpected for teacher Zia. A girl with blue hair asks to be allowed to accompany him. She adds that the owner has already chosen their real names and her name is Zioyu. The girl with green hair says her name is Zioling. The main character approaches them and agrees. He thought that he had heard that for demons, the real name represents the source of strength, as well as the main weakness, and from the looks of it, teacher Zia had completely taken over them. One of the girls concentrates purple energy in her hand using teleportation. The main character and demon servants disappear. The guy thought that they teleported without spells or any movements, even without a staff. He notices that Katie's teacher did the same thing last time and wonders what the secret is. The evening sun rises in the sky. Many crows fly among the hills. The main character lands on the floor. The crow spreads its wings. The main character is standing next to Zia Qincheng. The girl tells the main character that he must have already realized that this is not the most comfortable place and today there will be a practical lesson, the goal of which is only one, to survive. The main character looks carefully at the girl. The feathers of crows fly near the girl. The main character and Yun-Chen are standing on the roots of a tree. The dean crosses her arms and says that the remaining demonic energy in his body is a great tonic for them and they want to absorb it and evolve. And his goal is to adapt to this darkness and survive in it. Green shining eyes are visible in the darkness. Among the red vegetation, 3 pairs of green eyes are visible. Blue energy emanates from the eyes of the main character, and he says that as soon as teacher Zia leaves them, they will not be able to restrain themselves, and if so, then let them try to eat him. The floor under the main character is deformed. A scaly monster appears from underground and the main character jumps. 2 blue monsters jump from branches onto the main character. Yun-Chen looks back and thought it was fast. He uses divine lightning and hides in a blue clot of energy. He appears at some distance from enemies. He uses the assess skill and wonders what level these monsters are. Are they too agile and are their attributes so superior to his own? The main character thought that these animals turned into darkness because of the cracks. According to the information from the system, the scaly monster is a level 22 demonic earth armadillo with gold difficulty and 3 stars. Skills: Shadow Burrow, Shadow Perception, Rending Claw. Note: corroded by the dark aura seeping from the cracks, the armadillo gained the power of the night and turned into a demonic earth armadillo. According to the system, the 2 blue wolves are a level 21 dark flame wolf with gold difficulty and 3 stars. Skills: Shadow Charge, Dark Flame, Rending Claw. Note: the wild wolf gained the power of the night and turned into a dark flame wolf. Yun-Chen thought that something wasn't adding up here. Their level was just above 20. They couldn't beat him in attributes. He adds that because the speed can be so high, he had to use divine lightning. An earthquake occurs and the main character looks away. A huge monster with blue eyes appears. The main character jumps away from the enemy. Above him are 3 level 21 demonic ents with gold difficulty and 3 stars. Skills: Shadow Wither, Shadow Strike, Shadow Spikes. Note: the tree gained the power of the night and turned into a demonic ent. He thought that he had been in the forest for so long and could not even think that all these trees were ents. Drops of sweat run down the protagonist's face and thinks that it's not the speed of the monsters that matters. The perception itself has become weaker. Many monsters are heading towards the main character from different directions. Yun-Chen says that they are making a big mistake by trying to overwhelm them with numbers, and then transforms his weapon into a staff. A tornado appears and the main character says in a raised tone that magicians simply love group battles. He uses the main magician skill, Eye of the Storm. Many monsters are sucked into the tornado. The dark flame wolves send blue bolts of dark energy at the main character. His eyes turn yellow and black and he asks if they want to abort the cast, then tells them to dream. A huge number of clots of energy are directed towards the main character. Yan Chen uses Fireball and concentrates fire in his staff. A huge wall of fire appears. The main character uses a combination, a pillar of fire. Two wolves of dark flame attack the main character from behind. He thought that since this place was infected with darkness, he needed to do something. He swings his spear using the spearman's main skill, swing, and pushes several wolves away from him. The main character sticks his weapon into the ground. The guy's hair turns white and black lines appear on his face due to the fact that he used the effect of the talent, Darkness. He smiles and asks the enemies if they want to attack in the back and adds that now it will not be so easy. He thought that his Darkness talent, received from the Queen of the Night, made this battlefield ideal for him. The main character smiles menacingly. He pushes off the ground and heads towards the enemy. He instantly defeats the armadillo and the wolves. Around the main character lie defeated monsters. He looks at his black hand and says that he received a good amount of experience because he reached level 17. But not everything is so good. The main character's armor was painted gold. He says that the equipment of the Green Forest is charged with darkness, so it received enormous damage and after some time it will completely break. Yan Chen looks at the phone screen and says that nevertheless, the phone does not work here. This surprises him even more. He adds that neither magic nor technology can withstand the corrosion. Darkness is a terrifying thing. The main character walks towards the dark passage and says that fortunately, at least the demonic destroyer does not take damage. He adds that it's probably all due to the stellar level of enhancement, because as long as he has a weapon, he can continue to fight. 12 am. The rift into the world of darkness is located in the middle of the space of the ordinary world. The main character and Xia Qingcheng are standing behind a wooden arch. The girl with crossed arms tells the main character that now that he has gone through this, he must understand that all these monsters are born due to the infection of darkness that seeps through the cracks. Yan Chen with a serious expression says that not only monsters, it also affects magic and technology. He adds that he did not expect frontline soldiers to fight in such a difficult environment. The Dean replies that this is not so, because it is even more difficult for them, since it is easier for the main character to adapt due to the talent of the Queen of the Night. She adds that ordinary soldiers are not so lucky. A girl mage in a pink robe and a guy in metal shoulder pads are under intense stress in a world shrouded in darkness. Xia Qingcheng says that not only is their equipment gradually breaking down and their perception is weakened, but they also need to monitor the cost of stamina and mana. She adds that this is the very world of darkness they encounter, so this is one of the key reasons for their passive defense against them. The main character props up his chin and says that it turns out that there is even more dark energy on the other side of the crack, and if you break through thoughtlessly, you can be weakened even more, and also people cannot counterattack. They only have to defend themselves. The girl with a serious expression says that nevertheless, it is also difficult for them to penetrate here, so they have been holding each other for many years. But this balance is fragile, so the main character must become stronger as quickly as possible. Otherwise it will be difficult to protect himself. Xia Qingcheng looks into the gap in space and says that to understand the severity of their situation is the true purpose of the lesson. The main character answers, "What about the rift and the forest? What will happen to them?" The girl replies that the infection is too strong. Later the god of law will arrive and destroy everything in the area with a spell. Yan Chen thought that there were still many animals in the forest and just because of one fault, all living things would be destroyed. He notes that the ecology from them is very great. Xia Qingcheng looks at the main character and says that now is the fun part, and then asks if he wants something as a reward. The main character tells the girl that he saw Miss Katie and her demon servants use magic without a staff, and then asks how they do it. The girl concentrates magic over her hand. She materializes a book in her hand and hands it to the main character, and then says that everything is because of the universal passive skill of magicians. She adds that the main character can consider this book a reward. Yan Chen looks at the orange book with a satisfied expression. According to the system description, this is a book of using spells without a staff, which allows you to gain unrivaled super magic abilities that allow you to perform magic without a staff. 15 days later, many students are walking along the street. A guy in orange shouts that the participants in the exchange student competition have been announced and suggests looking at the list on the main website. He adds that this time the leader of Jiangnan Academy is classless. In the foreground, students look at their smartphones. A guy in a hat and headphones asks when they got a classless one at the academy, and is he really leading the group? The guy with the sword behind his back says that they are constantly training and there is no time to pay attention to the younger ones. But they say he is good. Many students are running somewhere. One of the students shouts that it doesn't matter if he has a class. He hopes that he gets a good place. Another student says it looks like they're leaving today. Another student says that as elders they should support them. Jiangnan Academy Interzonal Portal. There are 3 crystals above the small platform. Student exchange participants wear green raincoats with a fur collar. The guy with black hair says the new uniform looks good. The guy with long black hair agrees with him and says that he heard that the competition will be broadcast throughout the country, and they, as representatives of Jiangnan Academy, should look good. Kingling looks around and asks why Yun Chen isn't there yet, since it's time for them to go. She tells Nicole that she knows him well, and then asks her where he is. The elf replies that it seems that in the last days he was preparing for the competition, so he trained like crazy. Because of this they rarely saw each other. She closes her eyes and thought that she should worry about his uniform and hopes that she will not forget to put it on. A guy with black hair asks why the main character is not there. Another student says that he couldn't be late. The guy in the orange shirt says that he couldn't escape because he is the leader of the team. The main character stands on the floor of the court. He raises his hand and apologizes for the wait. The students are excited about the appearance of the main character. Nicole crossed her arms and asks the main character why he was so late and what he was doing. Yun Chen replies that he went to the library. He thought that after all, this is a system task and cannot be treated carelessly, because they may encounter strong opponents. The main character throws up a green book. He says that he learned a new skill there, the Mage's Hand, which allows you to freely move objects at a distance. He adds that this skill goes well with using spells without a staff and is very convenient in battle and in everyday life. The Anfu stands in front of the students and announces that Teacher Lee will accompany them on this trip, and he will go separately. He adds that in addition, if they take first place, they will be well rewarded with credits. Lee raises his hand and says that since everyone has arrived, they will go to their destination. A huge blue beam shoots straight at the students. While the protagonist and his allies are being moved, other students cheer them on. Qingyun Province is located in the center of Xuanlong and is the country's most important economic center. Beautiful birds fly over the Green Temple. Qingyun Academy is ranked among the top 7 academies in the country and has a good reputation, as well as hosting the competition. Qingyun Academy. The students wonder why no one greeted them when they arrived. Lee leads the students. Lin Yushui points to the sky and says that a dragon has appeared there. A blue dragon flies in the sky. Some of the students say that they heard about this Qinglong contract beast and it seems that the rumors were true about him. Another student says that he sees the divine beast for the first time. The main character thought that in Teacher Zia's office there was a beast similar to a phoenix and maybe it was divine. After all, there are too many monsters in this world and if they rise up, it will affect all of humanity. And that is why the great powers have made a contract with the divine beasts. They suppress the rest. The dragon breathes fire onto the barrier with monsters. The main character adds that there is a rumor that such a beast is strong enough to break a rank 4 barrier. Song Kan points his finger at the stone and says that there is a sign there. It is written on the stone that this is a special path for the classless team. The students look at the stone and notice that Qingyun also knows about Yun Chen's reputation since they prepared a special path. The main character with a stern expression says that everything is not so optimistic. 3 students appear nearby. One of them in a blue coat says that the Jiangnan Academy team was given a special path along which they walk their dogs. The guy with the long braid asks if the guy in the captain's uniform is classless. The guy in the blue jacket laughs and says that this is really the number 1 among the provinces, whom their academy decided not to recruit. The guy in the red jacket asks how precarious Jiangnan's position is if they decide to accept a person with no future into their ranks. Nicole, with a surprised expression on her face, says that she cannot believe that they did not even visit the main character. The main character says that at that time the dean of the college prepared 7 places for 7 best academies, but only 6 people came, and their place remained empty. Lin Yushui points his finger at the students and says that Yun Chen is number 1 among the freshmen, and by missing out on such an incredible person, Qingyun will regret it. The guy in the red jacket laughs and says that the classless guy really takes first place. The guy in the blue jacket points his finger at the main character and says that Jiangnan is getting worse every year. The guy with the long braid says that it looks like he is guaranteed first place this year. Song Kan calls them scoundrels with an angry expression and tells them that they have gone too far. Guo Fashel asks them with a menacing expression how dare they insult Yun Chen. Lee puts his hands on the shoulders of these two guys and says that fighting here is prohibited and they can be disqualified for it. She adds that besides, these are just ordinary students and they are not worth them. The main character steps aside and says that there is no point in chatting with them. Lee looks at the students and sees that they are upset. She smiles and tells them not to worry about it, because they will see their true strength on the battlefield and they should not be upset because of gossip. She adds that the competition will start the day after tomorrow, and the day before they will be interviewed, so they need to show themselves well without ruining their image. Yikingling exhales and says that the media there will be only locals, and in any case they are planning something. Lin Yushui crossed his arms and said that they were clearly grinning at Yun Chen. The main character props up his chin and says that no matter what they say, power will decide everything. But he doesn't understand the benefit of salting him. Teacher Lee replies that this is a matter of reputation, because thanks to her work on the commission, she has a certain understanding of this system. Teachers sit at the same table. Lee says that in fact, student acceptance does not depend on one vote. All teachers participate in this and King Yun is no exception. She adds that the decision to reject Yun Chen was also a unanimous decision, but now he is succeeding in Jiangnan, which is like a slap in the face for their academy. Sheng Tyran smiles and says that it is clear that to prove their blindness, they must trample them in this competition and they must intend to take first place if they are making so much noise. The main character, with a smile on his face, thought that he was looking forward to the soon competition, because since the enemy started this war, they will finish it. The next day, many journalists gathered in front of the team from Jiangnan Academy. Joyful Yikingling says that this is the first time she will give an interview. Song Kan tells her that she needs to show her best side. This broadcast will be shown all over the country, and even his brother will watch it. Nicole tells the protagonist that he remembers him saying that he has a sister and she must be rooting for him. Yun Chen drinks tea and says he doesn't know if she will support him, but she's definitely watching. He thought that yesterday he received a mountain of messages from her. The journalist in the jacket gets up from his seat and says that he wants to interview Captain Yun Chen, and then asks if King Yun Academy really rejected him. He holds a microphone in his hand and speaks into it that there are also rumors that the main character is from a small town, so he took advantage of the classless loophole and deprived himself of his future for the sake of first place. The journalist asks the main character if he agrees with this. The reporters in the room begin to believe this reporter's words because he is highly trusted. Journalists insult Jiangnan Academy, and the protagonist's team gets angry because of these words. Lee hits the table with his hand and asks what kind of nonsense this is, and then says that King Yun herself missed her chance and therefore you can't insult their person. She adds that they refuse to answer questions. The girl with an angry expression thought that this was too much, because they were being watched by family members of the students and how dare they ask such questions. One of the journalists says that they asked the students this, and then asks why Lee is interfering. Another journalist says that no one interviewed her. Another journalist says that they have a question for her too, and then asks how the main character entered Jiangnan and whether he really took advantage of a loophole. A destructive purple aura appears around the teacher and she screams at the journalists to get out. Yun Chen tells the teacher that she shouldn't be angry, after which her purple aura disappears. The main character smiles and says that he has only one answer to their questions. He makes a gloomy expression on his face and points his thumb down, and then says that anyone who stands against him will not stand on his feet. Fireworks explode in the sky. The announcer says that the National Student Exchange Competition is officially open. Many spectators gathered in the stands of the arena. A total of 128 educational institutions took part, including teams from leading academies. The owner of the arena, the King Yun Academy team, will be the first to show up. Students enter the arena. The announcer says that the team is led by the first from their province, the strongest student summoner of the country Xuanlong. A man with 2 long braids in the front of his hair named Nin Junyi walks ahead of his team. The guy in the hat exclaims that Nin Junyi is here. The black-haired guy says that this freshman easily ranked first in the province, breaking Xuanlong's record, and also ranked second among all academies. The girl in pink clothes says that he is also the son of the Nin family, the most powerful in King Yun. The girl asks the guy with black hair why he only broke the record for the second time. The guy replies that this is because there is one scammer who took advantage of a gap in the rules. The announcer says that the previous champions of the competition, the Jiangnan Academy team, are up next. The main character takes a step into the arena. The announcer announces that the team is led by this year's unpredictable leader, Yun Chen. The main character goes ahead of his team. The audience is unhappy with the appearance of the team from Jiangnan. One of them asks how such a person can lead a team. Another viewer says that they will watch how Ninjunny puts the main character in his place. Song Kan asks with an angry expression if they really think that some nin is worthy of their captain. Lin Yushui gritted his teeth and said that the only one who will remain the winner of this competition is the main character. Yun Chen with a straight face says that they will crush them with force, not words. A man in a red robe watches the students. He smiles evilly and says that soon it will be his turn to go on stage. Black dots are visible in the pond in the middle of the arena. The announcer says that the welcome area is over and they ask the academies to prepare for one-on-one matches. Dark platforms rise from the pond. The announcer says that the sorting of participants in this tournament does not allow students from the same academy, as well as from their first provinces, to meet. He adds that given these two rules, the participants were randomly assigned. Many platforms are located in the reservoir. The announcer announces the start of the first round of one-on-one battles. A light beam appears on the platform. The announcer tells the students to stand on a beam of light that will send them into the arena. Yun Chen stands on the light beam and says that this is an interesting way to enter the field. The main character moves onto the platform. A screen with a message appears in the arena. This is Arena 7, Yun Chen from Jiangnan Academy versus Song Yu from Nanji Academy. A guy in a red robe stands between the duel participants and says that in this round it is allowed to use only basic consumable items and any equipment below diamond rank, but otherwise there are no restrictions. He asks the students to get ready. On the left is the main character, and on the right is a guy in a blue helmet. Song Yu thought that he was so lucky to become number 3 in the province, and then he immediately ran into number 1. But they say he cheated. The guy in the helmet jumps back right after the guy in the red robe announced the start. Small orange crawling robots fly out of his hands. The main character thought it was unlucky that it was not a Kingyun student. The main character uses the fighter's main skill, Trample. A lot of smoke appears in the arena. The guy in the red robe says that Song Yu fainted and couldn't get up for 10 seconds, so he was declared the loser and Yun Chen won. The defeated mechanic lies on the ground. The spectator in the brown hat asks if this was really the basic skill of a fighter, and even the fighting skills of the golden boss do not have such destructive power. The girl asks if he really lost. The guy with black hair thinks that everything is a setup. The guy in the red robe says that the second participant is entering, after which a magician in purple clothes appears. He looks at the main character. He concentrates energy in his hand and tells the main character that today he will see the gap between an ordinary academy and a prestigious one. The main character calls him over and says that it's great and invites him to really look at this abyss. The main character materializes a huge golden hand, which is directed towards the magician. The magician coughs up blood due to the hand squeezing him and asks what is that. He wondered how the mage's hand could be so big and so fast, and then asked why he used it without a staff or spells. The main character asks him whether he will give up or torture him. The magician trembles and shouts that he admits defeat. The magician's hand releases the enemy. The red-robed magician says that Yun Chen has won and now the third participant enters. The competition site is located high in the mountains. Li and Yanfu watch the broadcast through the screen. Song Kan in the foreground says that although he can defeat them, he won't be as easy as Yun Chen. Yi Qingling says that Brother Yun's fights are always amazing. Yanfu, looking at the screen, says that this is unexpected. He probably learned the magician's hand in the library, and the skill looks pretty good since he can move objects with an invisible hand like telekinesis, but this is not the case at all. The main character looks at his hand. Yanfu says that since it is a low-level skill, it can only move small things like fruits or something else, but Yun Chen's talent compensates for the shortcomings of this skill, because in combination with using spells without a staff, it is difficult to defend against. Li calls Dean Yanfu. She looks closely at the screen and says that she has bad news. The broadcast is interrupted due to interference. She says that in Arena 28, Blood Knight Sheng Tyron fought hard for 3 minutes, but eventually lost in the second duel. The defeated elf lies on the ground. Someone steps on the elf's head. This is Ba Hessen, a draconian with the Black Dragon bloodline talent. He laughs and says that it's somehow simple and adds that he, Ba Hessen, is not targeting Jiangnan. He shows his middle finger to the camera and says that by this he wants to say that all 7 best academies are just trash. He adds that he will simply trample all of them without exception, because it will be much more fun. Yanfu says that this guy is energetic and asks if he really takes first place in some academy. Lee says that this is the Lie Academy, which ranks 9th in terms of the total number of teachers, and besides, it is not in 1st, but in 3rd place. Her Kingling asks how 3rd place can be so arrogant with an angry expression. Song Kan says that Sheng Tyran is the 2nd strongest in their team and wonders how he lost to 3rd place. Ianfu laughs and says with a stern expression that for sure this year Shanley got a monster. They deliberately gave him 3rd place so that he could undermine the spirit of the others by humiliating 1st and 2nd place, and yet this is quite a risky move, so they may not even reach the top 8 or even the top 16. Kingling with a pleased expression on his face says that this is outrageous, but his likelihood of bumping into the main character is high and he will teach him a lesson. A bare-chested man falls to the floor. The guy in the red robe says that in the 4th round of the 7th arena, Yun Chen wins. The main character turns back. He sees a dark silhouette in a nearby arena. Ba Hessen sticks out his tongue and asks the main character if he is in 1st place at Jiangnan Academy, and then says that he will cut off his neck. The main character looks at him with a stern look and asks what kind of fool he is. The man flies far back after the main character's attack. The guy in the red robe announces that Yun Chen has won and asks the 5th opponent to enter the arena. A spectator with a star on his t-shirt shouts that it is impossible for a classless person to win 4 instant victories. He asks if he really cheated in the entrance exams. The guy with brown hair says that he encounters ordinary trash from average academies and there is nothing surprising here. The guy in the green shirt points his finger and says that if he faced anyone from the top 7, he would definitely lose. The main character's opponent appears in the arena. The viewer notices that the main character's opponent is wearing the uniform of the Qingyan Academy. The spectator shouts that this is the 2nd place of Qingyan Academy, Ni Qiang. A man with red hair stands with an axe in his hand. Another spectator shouts that he is a berserker with a rare polar bear bloodline and his destructive power is terrifying. The main character and his opponent stand opposite each other and are silent. One of the spectators asks Ni Qiang to show the main character what their academy is capable of, because he threatened them. The main character smiles and says that finally, at least someone from Qingyan. He adds that he has prepared an interesting show for them. Ni Qiang smiles and in a raised voice tells the main character not to put him on a par with those fools, because he understands perfectly well that the main character got 1st place for a reason and adds that nevertheless, the classless have no future. The guy in the red robe throws up his hands and says that the 5th battle begins. The guy with the axe lowers his gaze and says that today he will prove everything that the protagonist is not worthy even of the threshold of their academy. Ni Qiang screams and is enveloped in an aura. He uses the bloodline talent, animalization, as well as the berserk skill and the berserker skill, Killing Surge. The main character smiles and says that there are many ways to defeat a berserker, but he will trample his pride. The main character shouts at him to fight with all his might. A purple symbol appears below it, and golden streams of energy emanate from it. The main character uses the main skill of the monk, Blood Rage, the main skill of the knight, Tenacity, the main skill of the archer, Morale, the main skill of the berserker, Berserk, the main skill of the Shadow Flow Spike, Killing Method, the main skill of the magic swordsman, Magic Flow, and the main skill of the paladin, Holy Glory. A spectator with a star on his t-shirt asks if it's even possible to arrange the power-ups like this. It's too much. The guy with brown hair shouts that with so many enhancements, his attributes must have increased a lot. He adds that fortunately, the buffs have a duration limit and Ni Qiang should last. The berserker takes the axe in both hands and shouts that this will not be enough. He thinks that he must stop him and if this continues, he will win. The berserker's axe and the protagonist's spear clashed in battle. Ni Qiang uses Fury Strike, and the main character uses the main spearman skill, Assault. Yun Chen pushes his opponent into the wall with his attack. Ni Qiang holds his chest with his hand and says that this is impossible, because he is in berserker mode with the bloodline of a polar bear. The main character jumps on his enemy. Yun Chen makes many swings and shouts that it is not time to rest yet. He used the Taoist's main skill, Chaotic Pole. Ni Qiang lies on the ground after being hit by the main character. The berserker emits smoke. The vine envelops the berserker's face. The main character uses vines to move Ni Qiang. Yun Chen points his hand towards the enemy and asks him if he wants to surrender. He tells the enemy to thank the Qingyan journalists, because last night his little sister saw the report and he had to calm her down all night. The main character smiles and says that it's time to settle the score and he can just cover a small part. His fairy appears near the main character. He uses the main summoner skill, Contract Summoning, and summons a level 1 Xiao Jing Demonic Thorn Flower with gold rank and the flogging skill. The guy with brown hair asks why he summoned a level 1 monster. The man in the green jacket says he has a bad feeling. The main character asks Xiao Jing to teach him a lesson and the fairy heads towards the enemy. Viewers assume that he uses the berserker to raise the level of his animal. Another spectator asks why he doesn't just defeat the enemy. Another viewer says that he is simply humiliating him, and this is not acceptable. The fairy runs to Niqiang. Spiked plants emanate from her hands. The berserker is trying to tell the main character that he will kill him. The guy with black hair cries and says that the level 1 demonic thorn flower can't even break through his defense, and how long will it be before Niqiang loses? The guy with blue hair says that he suffers much more spiritually than physically. 2 hours later, the berserker opens his eyes. He falls to the ground. Yun Chen crosses his arms and tells him that he deserves his name, a great level 20 experience package. He adds that in such a short time Xiao Jing has raised 12 levels, and this is very good. The guy in the red robe says that the battle time is limited, and if within 10 minutes the winner is not determined, then it will be considered a draw. He thought that the main character was ruthless. The protagonist says it's time to get rid of him. The main character kicks Niqiang in the head. The guy in the red robe takes the main character's hand. He says that Yun Chen won all 5 fights, and due to this he is among the top 64 and advances to the next round. The announcer asks the students to step away from the fighting and prepare for the next round. The main character is enveloped in a golden glow. He appears in the hall with people from his team. Lin Yushui tells the main character that for 2 hours now the hot news has been broadcasting a story about the ill treatment of second place King Yan with the help of a summoned level 1 beast. Guo Fashel laughs and shouts that now they have lost all their respect. Li crossed her arms and said that the first round of the competition was over and Yun Chen and Nicole had 5 wins in a row, and Sheng Tyron had 4 wins and 1 loss. She adds that this is not the time to relax, because the first round was only to select the top 64. But with the start of the second round, the likelihood of meeting a strong opponent will be higher. Li moves his hand to the side and says that for now they are resting, but they need to prepare for the next round. The announcer says that now the second elimination round has begun. Students from all academies enter the arenas. Students are teleported to the arenas. Arena 12, Yun Chen from Jiangnan Academy versus Lai Huangyu from Qingyan Academy. The main character and the enemy stand opposite each other. The main character says with a smile on his face that this is another one of Qingyan. The main character's opponent thought why exactly he met him, and this was bad luck. He adds that even Niqiang was defeated and humiliated by him. The guy in the red robe announces the start. Lai Huangyu is strangling the protagonist's vines. He tries to say that he gives up and he will even pay for it, but he can't because of the vine. The main character calls his fairy and says that this is unacceptable, and then says that it's time to level up. The fairy releases her plants. She hits the main character's opponent with them. Yun Chen tells her to hit there, because attacking the vulnerable parts will cause more damage. The audience insults the main character because of his behavior. Someone screams very loudly and the audience wonders what it was. Ba Hessen laughs and kicks his opponent, the guy with black hair. The guy is trying to say that he is giving up and thinks that he is really going to die. The goon kicks him in the head. The guy in the green robe binds the goon with a spell and tells him to stop because his opponent is in no condition to fight. Ba Hessen asks to let him go because these 7 best academies are just wimps. Shanley Academy Lounge. The bald man crosses his arms and says that this scoundrel is going crazy again. The guy with long black hair says that he has seen this many times before, but he still won't get used to it. A man with a mohawk asks why the dean indulges him. The man with curly black hair says that this is because Ba Hessen's cruelty comes not only from character, but also from his bloodline. The brute smiles evilly, an eye glowing red on half his face. The guy with curly hair says that both of Ba Hessen's parents have black dragon blood and he himself is even more talented, since he has 3 rank talents, well compatible with the black dragon bloodline. He adds that, nevertheless, the nature of black dragons is unbridled and greedy, so he can only please the nature of his bloodline. And the dean, understanding this, forgives him for such antics. The guy with curly hair says that now Ba Hessen has defeated 3 students from the top 7 academies, and there was even first place among them, which shows that the dean's judgment is correct. The guy in the green robe says that Ba Hessen is in the top 32, and the next round will be 16. The main character appears in this arena. The judge in a green robe announces that the classless one from Jiangnan Academy, first place, Yun Chen, appears in the arena. The main character and his enemy look at each other. Under Ba Hessen the ground is smoking. He sticks out his tongue and tells the main character that he should crush his head. The main character says that he heard that some people go to extremes in order to be as compatible with their ancestry as possible. but this way you can lose yourself and finally turn into a monster. He adds that it's sad, but Ba Hessen has already given his heart. The thug laughs and tells the main character that they, the scoundrels from the 7 best academies, are always so arrogant. He says that it would be great if the main character's relatives watched as they smashed his head on the ground. Yun Chen looks closely at his enemy. The main character makes a dash towards the enemy. Ba Hessen asks the main character if he is angry and if he really rushed forward even knowing the strength of the Draconians. Weapon effect: Dragon's Blood Roar. When the opponent is a dragon or dragon-like creature, all of its attributes are reduced by 15%, and damage against such creatures is increased by 35%. The main character hits Ba Hessen with a spear, after which the enemy wonders why his body is trembling. A huge amount of smoke appears in the arena due to the strong impact. The smoke on the battlefield begins to clear. The main character stands in front of a thug who is sitting on the ground. The main character holds him by the head and says that this is not the best place to rest, and the battle remains a battle, so there is no point in talking pointlessly. The main character punches his enemy in the head. Yun Chen concentrates the energy in his hand and tells Ba Hessen not to even think about it. He punches his enemy in the stomach using the fighter's main skill, Punch. The brute coughs up blood from the painful blow. The enemy is pushed back strongly after being hit by the main character. The main character says that as expected from the blood of a black dragon, he is quite durable, and that's not bad for a punching bag. The protagonist jumps on his enemy and says that this is not all. He kicks him using the fighter's main skill, Trample. Due to the powerful blow of the main character, cracks appear in the arena. One of the spectators says that he is ruthless and maybe it's because of those words about his relatives. Another viewer says that although they are about equal in ruthlessness, for some reason he likes Yun Chen. The protagonist stands on the enemy's back. He tells him that he seemed to want to smear his head and it turns out that now he should do it. Ba Hessen with glowing red eyes says that he will crush and pierce the main character. The protagonist jumps away from the thug's back. Something grows out of the thug's back. Wings appear on Ba Hessen's back, and he himself becomes more like a dragon. He says it's exciting to think about how he will torture the main character. He laughs and flaps his wings. One of the spectators shouts that he is a monster and he saw such a thing somewhere in a dungeon, and then adds that the benefits of an S-rank pedigree are much greater than those of ordinary talents of the same rank. Another viewer says that he is only level 21, and his bloodline is so developed that it has already created wings, and it seems that everything is due to imitation of black dragons, which significantly increases compatibility. Ba Hessen with an angry expression on his face tells the main character that he will kill him. Black energy emanates from his mouth. The main character watches what is happening with an anxious expression on his face. A black stream of energy leaves a deep mark on the earth. Ba Hessen tells the main character to die numerous times. Yun Chen points the spear at his chest and asks him where he is looking. Ba Hessen asks the guy when he had time. The protagonist says that brains are a wonderful thing and it's a pity that he doesn't have one. He adds that with his agility it is very difficult to dodge such direct attacks, and then asks what he will say finally. Ba Hessen smiles evilly and asks the main character who he is scaring with this and let him try next time if he dares. He adds that the protagonist simply pierced his muscles. The main character made an effort and the blade of the main character's spear is not far from the enemy's heart. Yun Chen asks the enemy what his last words are. The thug sat down on the ground and asks the main character to forgive him for everything and he will obey him. The main character takes out a blade from the enemy. The protagonist with a serious expression on his face tells the enemy that he really wants to kill, but is afraid of being killed. The judge declares Yun Chen the winner.